just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar. What a weekend of footy. Holy, it doesn't get much better than that. It does not get much better than that. Gurino, how was your weekend, mate?
Mate, we had a cracking weekend. We went out to the Bulldogs Cowboys game last night. Unreal. Weather wasn't great, but what a game. What a finish, like every other game this weekend.
Unbelievable.
Great.
Timmy?
Awesome, mate. What an unreal start to the footy season it's been. I'm typified by the fact that the sides coming 12 through 16 are all top 8 sides from last year. Not just top 8 sides, but quite high up the ladder. Me and Guru were sitting there watching the Sharkies game yesterday afternoon. At halftime, we were saying, Sharkies, how good are they? Premiership contenders. And we're saying, oh no, old school Warriors, they're back. They haven't put up a fight. Then next minute, they've pulled off one of the great victories in NRL history.
Like 20 points down,
Yeah.
20-0, and you're going, this Sharks team is going to absolutely decimate the Warriors. Oh, you know what's crazy is I've got so much faith in the new Warriors that we're seeing. Even when they were down, 20 points, as soon as they scored that first try, I was like, I didn't think they'd win it, but I said, in my head, I was like, I reckon this game's going to be competitive. Like, that's how much faith I've got in this new look Warriors that just never say die attitude.
Especially after, I think it was the Will Kennedy try. Like that was a dead set training run for the Sharkies. Like, that was like there was cones in front of them, and you just sort of thought at that point, like, here we go with the Warriors again. They promised so much, they're not going to deliver, and the way they turned it around was unbelievable.
Yeah, and as I said, it's a testament to them because I was honestly confident that they would. Like, which is any other year you're going, nah, this is going to be an absolute nightmare for the Warriors. But they just hung in there. They literally just refused to go away and then took the opportunities. But we'll get to that. Bloke Steedens, now available on bloke.shop. Make sure to grab, we're easily over half the amount is already gone, guys. So go to bloke.shop to grab some Bloke Steedens. Also, huge, our biggest drop of the year is coming up quite soon. So set aside maybe $99. Just put her aside because next few weeks we're going to announce what the huge drop is. Trust me, there's a limited amount of this what's going to come. Set aside the $90, guys, because what we're going to basically do is for the people that get in early, it'll be $99, and then the people after that, a certain date, it'll be $120. So make sure to set aside, guys. It's going to be, oh man, I can't wait for everyone to see this. I cannot wait for everyone to see these. Also, IGA, New South Wales, get down to your nearest IGA liquor store in New South Wales to get a case of Bloke Lager for $50. That is right. If you've got an IGA Plus liquor near you, they are currently selling Bloke for $50. If they don't have it, best thing is just ask politely for them to order some in because they're probably sold out. All of them can order them in. So that's IGA Liquor in New South Wales, the cheapest we've ever done Bloke Lager, $50. But yeah, what an incredible weekend of footy, Matty. Not so incredible for you. Not so incredible for you.
No, from a flat out Rabbitohs perspective, it wasn't fantastic, but just sitting back and watching every game this week, it was fantastic, especially yesterday. Like, we've had a lot of, especially last year, we had a lot of pretty average games that were played on Sundays, and it was good to just sit back on a Sunday, day before the podcast, put feet up and just watch two games that was just a roller coaster of emotion. It was so fun to watch.
Like, Sunday games for even this year have been a bit, like, I know we've had some exciting finishes, I guess, but the actual games haven't been as exciting, whereas this was just unbelievable. Now it's time for accountability, though. I mean, this is going to be interesting because it was a wild, wild weekend. So it's time for accountability. Thanks to Sportsbet. When Alex Twal finally gets over to score his first NRL try, Sportsbet will be rolling into the next Tigers home game and handing out free meat pies. Guys, so as soon as 12 scores, book your tickets for the Tigers' next home game because Sportsbet are going to be there handing out free meat pies to celebrate the great Alex Twal. I think they've also got odds on Alex Twal's first try, so check that on the Sportsbet app. As always, guys, gamble responsibly. You win some, but you lose more. Only gamble with what you can afford. But once again, thanks to our absolute legend partners over at Sportsbet, let's get into accountability. Roosters defeat the Eels. I picked Roosters. We all picked Roosters except Matty picked the Eels. So 0-1 for Matty.
Matty got cocky last week after his win. Real cocky.
Happens to the best of us, mate. Had a couple of wins. Think you know more footy than you do. Panthers defeat the Raiders. Uh-oh, Timmy. I mean, you're good that you're a turncoat because you actually picked the Panthers. So
hey, I don't let the heart get in the way of my footy tips.
we all picked Panthers. Storm defeat the Rabbitohs. We all went south. Holy. Storm doing what they do best. Proving everyone wrong. Now, Manly versus the Knights. We all went Manly. It was a draw. So that's what, half a point?
I just gave us all no points, but
Okay.
whatever.
Dragons defeat the Dolphins. Guru. Oh, no.
Should have listened to Tim a few weeks ago.
Dragons defeat. We all went Dragons except Guru went Dolphins. Broncos defeat the Tigers. We all went Broncos. Warriors defeat the Sharks. We all went Sharks. Bulldogs defeat the Cowboys. I was the only one to go Cowboys. Oh, I was this close to a great call. God damn it. Timmy wins with 5. Oh, and everyone else on 4. Overall leaderboard. Timmy 2 wins. I'm 1 win. Guru's 1 win. Maddie is 1 win. Wow.
Feels good, boys. I won't lie.
Oh,
Sweet.
Well, I mean, your club's struggling, so at least you've got this.
You've got to get a
Struggling.
got to get a win somewhere.
Now, some cool facts from over the weekend from Sportsbet. The totals ignore the weather in Sydney. Over the weekend, 6 out of 8 going over. Comp is ridiculously close this year. 19 from the 40 games decided by a converted try or less, with an average margin in all games of 10.05. Manly and Knights was the first draw since May 31, 2020. Panthers versus Knights. So that's two draws in a row for the Knights. Panthers finally got their attack to click, and their premiership price has been slashed from $4.30 into $3.75. The curse is looking more and more likely to be over. Broncos now $6.50 to win the comp. Third favourite now. I will say this was written by Sportsbet. I'm not talking about any curses being over. I didn't say that, so don't fucking say that I recursed the club or anything. South's drifting out now to $8. West Tigers now odds for winning the spoon are $1.85. Oh my! After 5 rounds,
Wow.
that's like favourites in a match odds.
Yeah, well and truly. That's in a 17-team comp, injuries and everything going on. Well, I'll just add on to that, Kempy. Last week there was one game that had a 13+ result. This week there was 3. So over round 4 and round 5 this year, there's been 4 games that have been 13+ results. If you go back to round 4 last year, 7 out of the 8 games were 13+.
No
there was, I think at the end of round 5 last year, there was almost 20 games that went 13+. So that's how close this competition is.
So good. And it's interesting because, you know, when you look at some of the teams on paper, you go, oh, the salary cap, is it really working? But it kind of seems like it is. You know, maybe we're overestimating the team on paper, or maybe the age-old discussion of, you know, a star team will beat a team of stars is really coming to the forefront this year.
If the salary cap isn't working, something is.
Something's working, whatever it is, seriously. So that's all thanks to Sportsbet, guys. Gamble responsibly. Thanks to the absolute legends. As I said, Alex Toll, when he scores his first try, Sportsbet will be at the next Tigers home ground handing out free meat pies. Absolute legends over at Sportsbet. Now we're getting into our team of the week. Going to change it up a bit, guys. Instead of all of us listing our team of the week, we sit down before the show and we basically all agree on what a team of the week is. So the team of the week this week we've all agreed on is following. Reece Walsh at fullback. Any other fullbacks, boys, that stood out for you?
Standard Tommy Turbo was good, but
Yep.
Reece Walsh was slick.
Had to be Reece, I think.
Oh, man, he's slick. So quick. Holy shit. To'o on the wings. Now, we had Taruva because of his, 2 tries that were especially one of them. But To'o, for me, just the work he got through.
It's wild with Toto. Like, he will run for minimum 220 metres every single week. Teams know he's going to do it, and they can't stop him. It's the ultimate credit to him. Yeah.
It's honestly insane. You got Tungle at 3. I thought he was outstanding. Staggs at 4. I thought he was outstanding. Dom Young. What a return. Seriously. Oh, my God.
Shout out to the Newcastle Knights. Absolutely nailed that. 6 errors 2 weeks ago. Probably thought he was safe. Dropped him, comes back, scores 4.
Unbelievable. Shows you the potential the guy's got. Cause like,
Scary.
Holy shit. Once the Roosters get their hands on it, which is weird. They haven't officially announced it. I'm getting a bit worried.
I'm sure they're not.
Like, I'm not worried for them. Like, haven't officially announced it. That's a bit bizarre. And then that, like, Tupou, I think, is looking to extend. It's a bit strange. Anyway.
It's on the official NRL team list for next year, though.
Yeah.
So-
but the Roosters haven't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they haven't announced themselves.
Which is interesting. It's just anyway. Maybe I'm just.
To be fair, the Bulldogs never announce kick out. Like, I guess sometimes they just, if it just leaks, they just don't worry
they just
about
let it go. Yeah, fair.
Might
fair.
be waiting for a game against Newcastle.
Yeah. 6 Burton, the field goal, and also just his work in the last 10 minutes just to step up.
The balls to chip from your own 40,
fuck.
golden point, and it all looks so easy because you got Josh Adokar taking the ball and everything. But if that goes wrong, he's an idiot all of a sudden.
Oh man, I mean, I said it back in the back when he played Origin and seeing how he handled that fight and whatever. He's a big moment player. Like he just steps into the big moments.
Even for like a left foot kicker to hit that field goal from where he did in the wet, couldn't be harder.
Seriously. Shawnee Johnson at 7. 7 was really the tough spot this week. Got Benny Hunt, Sam Walker was outstanding, Renault was outstanding.
Cleary was good.
But Shaun Johnson, just to go against his old club, get the job done the way he did. He did have that error where he didn't kick out, but he was crucial in getting them back in the game. We had Haas at 8, unbelievable. Grant at 9, Hargreaves at 10, Jordan Ricky at 11, Preston at 12, Tavanga at 13, Walker. I had Walker, but you guys had Benny Hunt at 14. So either or.
Could have gone either way, but I thought Ben Hunt was tremendous for his side.
Yeah.
Griffin Neem in the losing side was outstanding. Gerbo, Jake Travojevic was outstanding, and Cam Murray at 17. Let us know what you think. Any changes that you would make in the comment section. But yeah, that is the team of the week brought to you by Bloke Beer. Get in your local, grab a case, try the new midi. People are absolutely loving it. Seriously, I got multiple messages again over the weekend of people going, I can't believe how good this beer is. So try our Bloke Midi if it's near you. Give the local bottler a call, see if they stock it. If they don't, just ask them to order it in. Now, let's get into the game, shall we? Also, we've got a Bottle-O promo. In New South Wales and Queensland, in every single Bottle-O, Bloke Lager will be in special in every store from this Thursday. So from Thursday on, in every New South Wales and Queensland Bottle-O store, Bloke Lager will be on special. So get in there. Head in time for the long weekend. Head down to your local Bottle-O and grab a case of Bloke Lager for a discounted price for the long weekend. And as I said, guys, if you're looking to give it a try or you already have drunk it before, the more you go in for these promos into the Bottle-Os and go in and purchase the beer, the more likely they are to stock more of Bloke, to take on new beers that we have, to support Bloke, get into more stores. So head in there, grab a case or even grab a 6-pack in your local Bottle-O as of this Thursday. But let's get into the games. Roosters defeat the Eels 28-20. The score is a little bit deceiving for this one because the Roosters, it was a dominant performance. I thought they were outclassed the Eels. The Eels had put on a couple of points late, but it's going to be one of those, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think this is one of those seasons for the Eels that's going to end up like, if only we had jagged a couple of wins at the start of the year, we would have finished in X place. Because these are the wins that, you would know as a Raiders fans, how many times do you go, fuck, if we had a one, because you usually have close games. I think it was a few years ago where did you not make the 8 or you just...
We finished that like 9th, 10th a few times in recent years.
And it was because you'd lost like 6 games by 2 points or some shit like that.
Yeah, there was the season where we became the Faders. It would have been like 2017 or something like that where we just like
It's
lost...
hard to pinpoint a decade.
It's really hard to do. But we just lost unlosable games where we were up by like 12 with like 2 minutes to go. One of the ones that still burns in my memory was the SJ one down in Canberra against the Warriors, and we conceded something like 2 tries in the last what felt like 8 seconds to lose the game.
To a Barsic? Try-saving tackle, I think?
Possibly, but SJ killed us. SJ killed us with a couple of field goals or something. Anyway, can we move on?
I think Tuivasa hit the ball out of Rapana's hands, I think, in that game. Anyway, so the Roosters, I mean, it was great for the Eels to come back and show fight, and I think that the Eels, they're just going to be this not a bogey team, but they're just going to be this team that, like, do we all agree they can still probably win the comp? Like, even though we don't think they will, on their day they can beat any side?
On their day, they can beat him. I personally wouldn't go as far as they can win the comp, but I think that they can still be a top 4 side. I'll tell you what I think is going to make it crazy this year. This draw now, that now you've got 2 teams that are on uneven points, their for and against goes out the window. All of a sudden, Parramatta now, because they've won 1 game so far this year, their for and against is -19. All things considered, that's a pretty good result, considering their draw and everything.
Yep.
But now that you've got the Knights and the Manly Seagulls, who their for and against doesn't matter anymore, that draw is going to really fuck someone this year.
Yeah.
And they've had a really difficult draw to start the season. They play the 3 major Origin weeks where they might not lose anyone to Origin.
Except for probably Junior Paulo.
Except for Junior Paulo. Yeah. So they'll be pretty well placed through there. I think it's worked out in their favour there. So if they can jag 3 there.
So you think they can't win the comp? Put a line through them.
Yeah, I don't think they can win the comp this year, no.
Timmy?
I don't see major differences to last season where we were like 1 week on, 1 week off. Now, I know they've started slower, but it's a tough draw. There's been some tight losses. I think Sean Lane will come back in and change plenty for them. I'm not putting a line through them yet.
Yeah, I think they're still in it. I'm not saying that they're my favourites, but like, even though it's been super disappointing, and we spoke about it, when you look at the Eels, you would hope that they would take a step up each year. You know what I mean? Like they build on the year before, whereas they seem like, as you just said to me, the same team as last year.
And put it this way, mate, like, you can really look at this game from so many different perspectives. One's that scoreline probably doesn't reflect the Roosters' dominance. Another way, and looking at Parramatta, you go, all right, well, they just beat Penrith in a gut-busting victory last week, who are the premiership favourites. Like, they lost 2 blokes to the sin bin in the first 23 minutes in this game, came out and won the second half. Like, that says a fair bit to me.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's so the Eels. Like, that's such an Eels performance where you go, you can't count them out because it's not like they're doing this against... Look, if they had an opening draw of like, some of the lower tier teams and this was happening, I would be like, they're done. Like, this is just not good enough. But this is against essentially everyone's... They've played basically everyone's top 5, as in leading into the season. I know it's not that now. And every single game has been competitive. Every single game. Like, every single game, a call that goes their way or doesn't go their way, they could win or lose the game.
I just also think, though, that this year, different to previous years where, yes, there's the top 5 that we all really like, but the next 5 below that and the next 5 below that, honestly... Outside of the West Tigers at the moment, you've got 16, respectfully to the West Tigers, let's call it as it is. You've got 16 really good footy teams this year. History tells us you have to be a top 4 team to win the comp. Sitting in 15th with 1 win after 6 rounds, I just think it's going to be very, very tough for Parramatta to pull themselves back up there.
Yeah. Look, I think it's going to be tough for sure, but I still think there's a chance where they just go on a crazy run and just Mitchell Moses, Dylan Brown, Paulo, RCG just go absolutely crazy. But we'll keep talking about the Eels then before we get to the Roosters. I thought Dylan Brown was absolutely phenomenal. I thought he really did everything he could to spark their attack. I think I don't know if I'd pull the trigger yet, but I tell you what, I'd be very close to pulling the trigger of Hands being on the field to start the game. Very close to pulling the trigger.
You got to start considering it at the bare minimum, I think.
And it's because it's not because Hodgson has individually been playing poorly. It just seems that when Hands is on the field, their attack just flows better. And I don't know, maybe and that could just purely be luck. It doesn't mean that it's 100% all because Hodgson has a different way of playing to him. But it's 2 games in a row now where when he gets on the field, they just seem to be a bit smoother. So I'm not sure if I would make the decision yet. I'd probably give Hodjo 1 more game. But at the moment, I think he probably does suit Impact better coming on and just going, Hodjo, you've got 20 minutes or however long. Do your thing. Moses, just take a back seat, kick, and then Hands potentially starts. Because I thought they were really sharp when he came on the field.
Could you do, very much thinking out loud here since you mentioned it, but... There was that period there where Tommy Starling was playing really well at the Raiders and Josh Hodgson would play the first 20-odd and then he would go and shift to lock and be as a ball-playing lock. Because Parramatta are so light on middles, we know that Ryan Madsen, who obviously started on the edge on the weekend, spent some time in the middle, but like Brad Arthur's shown his lack of willingness to play a lot of his bench middle forwards and play these massive minutes for Campbell Gillard, Junior Borlo, Jermaine Hopgood. Could you shift him to a ball-playing lock role? See you, mate.
No, I'm just trying to take it a little bit down. Yeah.
To a ball-playing lock role to eat into those middle minutes and help out the rotation there. And again, it'd be mate, you're playing a link role, don't overplay your hand, but to help out the middle rotation and give you fellas love Brendan Hands, give him more time.
Where would you put Hopgood on the edge?
Well, he just plays middle.
Plays middle?
As a prop, essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
So like, you wouldn't necessarily start the game with it, but if you wanted to get more minutes into Hands, maybe you could have Hodjo come off the bench, start Hopgood, Regan Campbell-Gillard, Borlo as your 3 middles, and then he comes on, Hopgood probably goes to prop, and
Yeah, I mean, it's an option for sure. And he would be really good throughout the middle if he, connected well with Moses and Brown.
Which I think he
when,
would.
When they were tired, like when tired forwards.
Just the service between linking Brown and Moses, I think would.
The only concern, I guess, is his defence. For me, I'm still not fully sold on his defence in regards to, it's interesting. I'm not sure whether he has the missed tackles that he has because he shoots up out of the line or because he just struggles in defence sometimes. So, because you can kind of not all missed tackles are equal. Some missed tackles are just really poor missed tackles that you've done, and then some missed tackles are a bloke shoots up, hits someone, stops him in his tracks, but then falls off. But they win the ruck and they win the So I'm still on the fence. Is that why Hodgson sometimes in defence can have a few missed tackles?
And that's a great shout, Campy, because it's the ones to me, like unless you're seriously just noticing it over and over again, blokes missing tackles. It's the ones when they're defending their own line. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to go through for a try, but they're the missed tackles that you go, he falls off one there and the player goes through for a try and it's a poor 1-on-1 compared to, when they're coming off, they'll slip off a tackle because they shot off the line and it's covered and it meant nothing. So it can be very misleading.
100%.
So, and I don't feel like Hodjo misses too many on defending his own line, the important ones.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, I do know Hodjo does shoot out of the line, especially when they're coming out of their 40. A lot of hookers, it's like one of their underrated. Reed Marnie does it a lot. Damien Cook does it a lot. They use their speed and small stature to shoot up and hit someone as they're catching the ball. But yeah, I just... There was something about the fluidity in hands being in there that I just really like. As soon as they got into a groove and just the ball service that he was giving Moses and Brown... I don't know. I think there may be something there. I really do.
I don't love the idea of playing him at 13, to be honest with you. I think that Parramatta, they do their best work when they're going forward. I think you bring a 13 like him into it, I get worried when they go too lateral. And I think when you got Hopgood, Maddo, Junior in the side, I think you're turning Hodgson into a 13 for the sake of putting Hodgson somewhere on the field. I don't think it adds that much value personally.
I agree in regards to, like, right now, I don't see the value. I mean, I see the potential in it for sure, but I would be very close just going, Hand starts, he plays for 30, you bring Hodgson on to go fucking hard for 10 minutes or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, if Hodgson, you brought Hodgson to be a 9, if he's not going to be an 80-minute 9, that's okay. If he plays 30, 40 minutes and you get the best of Hodgson in those minutes, it's worthwhile in my opinion.
And also, it could change. That's where you really could see shifts in momentum of, like, it's a very different... task defending a Mitchell Moses side compared to defending a Hodgson side. So all of a sudden you shift gears where, all right, Mitchell Moses is just getting us around the park, we're hitting our 3-ins and getting to our edges. Then Hodgson comes on and has a license to run. All of a sudden it's really tight, it's around the ruck, and it could be really a good way to shift the rhythm of defence where they don't know what's really coming at them. Is it Mitchell Moses-led team? Is it a Hodgson-led team? Because I really like what I've seen from Hands. I think... It's just, he's 23? It's just crazy that so many young guys that hit that 22, 23 age, they don't want to sit around New South Wales Cup, potentially getting injured, getting paid nothing. Whereas Hands is bide his time, and I think that there could be something there. Defensively, I don't think he's missed a tackle. In his 2 games, he hasn't missed a tackle, which is fucking pretty fair effort for a young fella coming in his second game of NRL. So, yeah, this is a tough one to measure for the Eels. When you look at the start and you go 1-5, you go kind of panic station. I mean, what's bizarre is they're only one more win than the Tigers. And we're saying the Tigers are, in a world of hurt. I do think the difference is the teams they've been playing and also they've been in every single match.
Been better.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it is interesting to show the world. You've got the grand final people, a team, grand final team 1-5, another team that was all the wooden spoon. They're only one win separates them, and we're much more lenient on the Eels because they've played better footy, whereas the Tigers is just shit.
I personally think all things, when you put all things together, I think Parramatta have done almost well to get out of this with a win. The draw that they had, Matto wasn't there for the first 3. Junior's been missing games. Sean Lane's been out the entire time. New hooker. It's been a very, very tough gig for them, in my opinion.
Would have been if they could have just jagged 1 or 2 more.
Would have been great.
You look back to that Storm loss now and you go far out. Like, that was there to win.
That was the one that stings because they threw that game away.
Oh, seriously. So, yeah, the Eels, I don't know. I think it's becoming more and more clear in regards to what do we think of the sin bins? The Pensini. Look, the Pensini one, I see that as like a 50-50 sin bin. Like, I get it. I get why you would consider sin binning him because, you know, maybe that was the reason why Kiri didn't pass the ball because he didn't get back. And he didn't get back. Like, let's be honest. But 10 in the bin, is that the same as knocking out Tedesco? Like, I don't know.
But it is still a professional foul. Like, it's a try-scoring situation. He didn't get back on side and put himself in the way.
Professional foul, you've got to prove basically that he intentionally did what he did.
Did he not? He didn't get back on side.
But, like, he could have thought that's where onside was. That's where the line was. You know what I mean? Like, there's no line on the field that says that's the 10-metre mark. You're kind of guessing when you're running back like that. You can't prove for sure that he...
I can't prove for sure, but he's a footballer that's played a lot of footy. I think he knew what he was doing.
But that's what professional foul used to be basically set aside for. It's clear as day. You know 100% he intentionally did something to stop a try-scoring situation. I'd argue, that's why I think it's 50-50, I'd argue that not only could you say he didn't know whether, like, he was just turning around or whatever, you could say Kiri wasn't in a try-scoring situation because his outside man overran him. I'm not saying that I think that, but that's where I think that this is a pretty 50-50 call. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, look, I understand where you come from. It's not a hill that I'm willing to die on, but I would have sin-binned it personally.
What about you, Timmy? Would you sin-bin him?
I would have, yeah. Yeah, I get the argument for sure. And like, I certainly would have been filthy if he didn't get binned. In fact, I'm here for less bins the better. But I think it was, professional foul, and I was happy to see him go.
I think that's a fair point. If he didn't get in, I wouldn't have come in here today and said, that's fucking outrageous. How did it not happen? But I don't disagree with the decision.
Yeah, that's why I think it's, in my opinion, I see it as like a 50-50 call that I don't think people would have been fucking losing their minds if he didn't get sin binned. And I don't think people are losing minds that he did get sin bin, if you know what I mean. What about you, Matty? Do you think it was a sin bin?
I'm similar. Like, just because he didn't get back and it was like a line break, that's why I think it's fair enough that he sin binned him. But again, like, probably wouldn't have even noticed if he didn't get sin bin, to be honest.
Because and look, this is just purely off vibe and like memory, but I swear we've seen a ton of that situation happen in games where people make line breaks, people don't get back, and they make the tackle or whatever, and they don't get sin binned. So it's got to be like, from now on, that's pretty much, you want to be consistent in regards to that.
I think that, if players know that they can do it and get away with it, I think a heap more will do it. They'll just back themselves in to defend the next set.
And Bailey Simonson, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
Didn't
help that it was James Tedesco, but regardless, it was bad.
Yeah, like, you just can't. That was shoulder to the head.
Yep.
Like, I know it all happens really quickly. I'm not saying Bailey Simons intends to do it, not at all, but unfortunately, you just can't risk that anymore. You just can't risk it. And if you're the Roosters, you're going, well, now other teams get the benefit of our fucking player being out for 11 days. 11 days.
It is what makes it hard for a guy like Bailey, like shooting in, you got a split second. And James Tedesco, like, he creates a try and he holds the ball for half a second. If that, like, you've just got to make these instant decisions, but that's the game,
Just got to go lower, though.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't be, because, like, you could tell he was trying to put on a hit.
Yep.
Like, he was definitely trying to hit him hard, not in the head, obviously.
You could argue it all kind of evened out, because whether or not you think the first one was a sin bin, you could say that should have been a send-off, the Simonson one. So,
yeah.
Honestly, I guess they evened each other out in the end.
Like, I probably still would lean 10 in the bin-ish for Simon, but if they had sent him off, I wouldn't have been too... The only reason why I think, like, I'm okay with the 10 in the bin is because it's a winger jamming in, so, like, the margin for error is so small. It's not like a set line that a forward's running at where you've got plenty of time to, like, fucking find your target, get to it.
I think 10 in the bin was fair for that one.
More than happy with 10 in the bin. A send-off would have pissed me off.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised, though, if they sent him off. That's another one where I think it's 50-50, like, could have gone send-off.
See, I'm not with... I would rather that be send-off.
Oh, really?
I thought that was terrible.
Yeah, wow.
I thought that was going to be a send-off for sure.
Anyway, with the Eels as well, I think it's becoming increasingly clear they need an outside back, as in they need a centre or a winger. And at the club, because unfortunately that seems to be the areas that I guess the errors happen or the tries come through. Their forwards are always usually pretty good.
And this hasn't been a 5-week problem. This has been a 2.5-year problem.
Yeah.
Realistically, it's always been a hole for them. Imagine if Will Pensini didn't come along.
Oh,
like that backline would be in some real trouble. And obviously the news came out last week about potentially looking for a fullback. Maybe that's part of their thinking, that they can shore up a spot with Gutho there. It's not what I would do. Don't get me wrong, but maybe that is part of their thinking. I've got no idea.
Even Sivo for me is like so frustrating because I feel like he should be like To'o, but he still does. He has these moments where you're like, okay, yeah, you're a gun. Don't even think about moving your position, rah rah. But I just want to see more from him. I want to see more runs. I want to see even the energy on the weekend. I just didn't see the same energy that I see when Sivo's playing really well. He is trying to hurt people with this. He's running. Like, he is literally picking blokes out and running at him. I didn't really see that on the weekend. He scored, but like 115 metres, 1 tackle break, 3 errors.
He's played 5 games so far this year. He's gone sub 120 metres on 3 of those occasions.
He's a beast.
And he should be like 200. He should be the Brian Toto guy.
Yeah.
He should be the 200-metre guy.
And what's even more alarming is that he's been having runs. Like, there's been games where he's had 14, 15, 16 runs, but he's still not quite getting the
going
metres.
unders. Yep.
Yeah, so it's like...
Well, I just don't... When he's running, I don't feel like he's fucking tearing in. Like, I feel like he's just getting through the numbers kind of thing to tick off.
Yeah, Sivo busting 1 tackle, sculpted from stone.
Yeah.
Big, fast, strong. Like, he needs to be busting more than 1 tackle a game.
Well, if Dylan Brown can bust 4 tackles a game pretty much, Sivo can.
Like, he's played 5 games. He's busted 6 tackles.
Sivo. Yeah. Like, we're talking about Sivo here. And so I look at that, and then you've got obviously Bailey on the other side that's struggling for form. You got Wonga Blake, who are also struggling for form. A little bit better on the weekend. Didn't make an error, but...
He's had 1 more line break than he's had tackle break.
Who?
Sivo.
Sivo.
Like, that's wild. For a guy his size and for the ability that he has.
I just think that I would honestly rather 12 runs a game where he's ripping in, like just fucking ripping in, than, 15 to 20 where it's kind of just like, I'm just getting through my work kind of thing.
It's also like when we're out there watching Canterbury last night, like, you saw the opposition kick and you just see Kiraz. He is just circling the play the ball for the first 3 tackles. He's so hungry. Brian Totter's exactly the same.
Yeah.
If Sivo could just have half of that mindset, like, he'd be the best winger in the comp.
He would destroy teams, destroy them. Like, there was even, he made a half break and he grubbered, I think, inside. And Sivo,
that was a shocker.
Sivo a year ago is going fucking, literally in that corner, he bumped Tedesco.
Yeah.
And it was like on every single social media page you could find.
Had a one-on-one with, might have been Suoli or someone.
Suoli,
and he kicked it. He was like, bro, take him on. Suoli's just gone, thank Christ.
God for that.
So in that situation, and you'll be able to more, you've been a winger, but I always look at them and I go, the amount of, Josh Adokar did it last night too. He kicked Jim Field at one point. And I just always think, just take him on. At worst, they chop you. You get a quick play the ball. It's over on that next play.
Yeah, I think it's just the winger's mindset of like, I've got a break here, we could score a try. Like, when you get a break, it's almost like, I should score a try. But I agree with you, mate. Just take the tackle. I was always take the tackle, but I mean, it's happening so quick. I think the Josh Adokar one was a little bit more forgivable because he got the kick away and there were people running inside. It was just actually the defence was tracking back. Whereas the Sivo one, look, maybe he didn't realise he had passed his winger.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, I'm about to get taken out. But I think that it kind of is an example of like, maybe he's down on confidence a little bit with his aggressiveness. Maybe he's got a sore shoulder or a sore sternum. Especially
like you take that example last night, the game we were at. Cowboys made a break down the right side. Hayes Perrin made a good tackle. Tom Dearden gets the ball because they just played the ball, got the quick play the ball. No fullback at home. He kicks over the top. He scores. There's always stuff to come off the back of that line break. I think sometimes they do get a little bit kick happy in those moments. You've done the hard work. Let the rest of the team execute off the back of it.
For sure. So, I mean, I feel harsh because Sivo isn't their problem in the back line at the moment.
Not even close.
But it's just because I think we'll agree he could literally be the best winger in the comp. And also, I think it was about a year ago where I said Sivo really needs to take his game to the next level. Bensini, I'm happy with him. I think he's fantastic. But yeah, the other edge, Wonga Blake and Bailey Simonson, I hope they find form. I do. But at the moment, if they want to win premierships, they really need to start impacting games. I'm just surprised with Bailey because Bailey was a tackle break machine at the Raiders. Wasn't he? If I recall, he was a machine bringing the ball out. So hopefully he can bounce back. He'll be out for a few weeks, but when he does come back, I thought Whittamoo Greg had some
He's a
good
goer,
moments.
isn't he?
Yeah, I thought he really stepped up against a big pack. Anyway, on to the Roosters. Sam Walker, his defence has improved so much. It is shocking to me. The number of one-on-one tackles he made on the weekend that were just he's a small, not just a small half, he's a tiny half. He is a tiny, I'd nearly put him in, he's not as small as Preston, but he's smaller than Mitchell Moses, let's put it that way. And Mitchell Moses is a small half. And his defence, so he's missed one tackle in 4 games? One tackle in 4 games.
And he's making
games.
20 plus most games.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah.
And so the only game where he missed quite a few tackles, 4 or whatever, was round 1 against the Dolphins. Ever since then, he's missed 1 tackle and he's made 20 plus tackles a game. Unbelievable.
He made one really late on as well. I can't remember who it was on, but chopped him around the ankles, a one-on-one on the line. So clutch.
Oh,
he's
mate.
making big tackles.
Because
the sides are still isolating, getting one-on-one pretty well, and he's getting up for it.
Even if you go back and watch the try that was scored on him, Roosters versus Dolphins, if you actually go, I can't believe I'm getting this wrong because I practiced it so much. Lemuelu. I literally sat there practicing it. Lemuelu, his try, Sam Walker makes good contact. It's just a size thing. He doesn't fall off the tackle. He just gets, they just falls over him.
I asked Connolly on the weekend, I messaged him and said, mate, I'm really having trouble pronouncing his name. Can you send me a voice message? And I've been practicing it all week.
Which name?
Lemuelu.
Yeah, I got sent
I've got it saved in my
audios.
favourites. Yeah.
And I've literally sat there on my phone, Lemuelu. That's the only way I can learn the names. I sit there and I just repeat them over and
Exactly
over.
the same. Yeah. But yeah, Sam Walker, especially isn't that crazy? He's already played 50 first grade games.
I know.
You talk about Cam Smith's point scoring record, all that sort of stuff. He's a goal kicker who's played 50 games. He's 19, 20 years old. He could still have 16 years of first grade left in him at a team like the Roosters.
And also, he's only going to get better and better. Where he's at in his career now is, I think, usually players are 23, 24 and at number 7, where they start to get their defence a bit sorted. They start to read games a bit better. He's 20 years old and already here. Imagine in 5 years' time.
He's 20 years old with 322 points.
Oh, yeah.
He couldn't goal kick for the first year.
Oh, his goal kicking was shocking. Yeah. That's another thing that he's sorted out. His goal kicking.
Yeah.
And so you like to look at all the flair and the crazy natural ability, the cutout passes, but he has worked his ass off in multiple facets. Not just okay, we'll just focus on defence or whatever.
Also, so he's played 3 seasons. His first season, his average kicking meters was 123. Last year, got up to 197. This year, it's 388.
Wow.
Yeah, have a look from his first 50 games. He's got 36 try assists and 27 forced dropouts. And he's been the main half in his team for 12 weeks for a grand total.
Unbelievable. So, yeah, really cool to see Sam Walker's development. Luke Keary, obviously 2 tries. Jackson Paulo, how good's he been?
What a signing. Yep.
And, we spoke about it. We said, don't count him out yet. Yeah, okay, he had a bit of a tough run at the Rabbitohs. But he has been outstanding. A try assist, 175 metres, 21 runs, 4 tackle breaks, a line break assist. What a knock. Tupou was great again. That try that he set up with that line break off the kick return, wow. Jared Warira Hargreaves. That's a hard one to say when you roll the R. Warira Hargreaves. Terrible. Sorry, guys.
I'm 5 years away from being able to roll the R.
Yeah, I've been trying to
one step at a time.
Whittamoo. It's hard. But I've been trying. I was seriously my missus must think I'm crazy because she can hear me saying shit like Nikora. in the other room. She's like, "What the fuck's wrong with this bloke?" And I'm like, "I want to get it right, man."
Kempy in the sack. Just going, Darl, who's Wiramu?
Near quarter. Anyway, Hargreaves, fuck. Talk about vintage. Talk, like, his body, like, how is it not falling apart? Remember when you used to watch Thurston and you're like, he is strapped within an inch of his life. Like, he's like a doll that has been strapped together to get pushed out, and they push him out in the field, kills it, comes out, and then he falls apart. How is Hargreaves still together?
It's every preseason throughout the last 6, you hear people go, Jared's slowing down, and you sort of go, yeah, no, fair, he is.
Yeah.
He's not.
It's been like 6 years, bro.
It's crazy.
Like 6 years, you go, yeah, I think it might be. Like, even going into this year, people were like, probably Hargreaves last year. Like, he's fucking had a fair whack, vintage, And then
if you go back to that, was it 2020 they had all the injuries? Is that when Sam Walker debuted? 2021, was it?
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, the first 2 or 3 games that season before everyone was injured, I remember sitting there and Jared didn't play huge minutes in those games, thinking, okay, now the ease off begins. Then all the injuries happened, and he just went, fuck it, I'll play 70. He did it for the entire year.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's honestly...
They let go of Takiaho last year because they've got so much confidence in what he can do.
He seriously... And just... Like, even the... It sounds crazy to say, but even the niggle in his game, he's not really getting sent off as much as he used to, sent for 10. Like, I think he is so important to clubs too, because if you want to talk about, a lot of young forwards especially, but just young players. But young forwards come in, they're hyper aggressive, super angry. They may have some, not issues off the field, but, and I'm not saying Hargreaves did, but I'm saying like these are very violent they have violent tendencies. We're talking about rugby league front rowers. And what JWH is good to have is these young guys that come in that have that, is he'll be able to show them you don't necessarily need to kill that part of you. You can direct it in a way that can help your teammates. Whereas a clean cut forward that is, just more about just doing his job, he may try to he might try to say to that young forward, you need to kill that part of your game and just become the guy that gets through a bunch of work, do what's good for your teammates. Whereas Hargreaves can say, look, I know there's a beast inside of you that you're a violent human being. Like, you are a violent human being, but here's how you not only become a role model off the field, but here's how you become a role model on the field.
Imagine being JWH and like playing at the age he's at with what he's been through. And Trent Robinson has so much confidence in him that he goes, fuck it, I'm going to pick Corey Allen on the bench this week.
Yeah.
I've got Ben Thomas, who's a front row forward, as my 18th man. I'm just going to run with an extra winger.
Yeah.
Sitting on
because I know my front row is going to go out.
I know he'll do a job for me.
Unbelievable.
And the front rowers you have got there would combine for what? 25 first grade games?
Yeah.
Bench front rowers.
So good. And I think that was disappointing in the second half that they allowed them back into the game, especially the last bit of the second half, for sure. But I think we'd sort of started to see everything beginning to click. Was it the try so Sam Walker jumps out? No. Cheese jumps out, hits Sam Walker, hits Keary. I guarantee you Trent Robinson was going, that is what I saw when I signed Cheese. This is what I hoped would happen. Small, fast as anything, players around the ruck that are just exploiting spacing that big forwards can't get to. Because that's what it was. It was a big forward that came up and basically was just left grasping at air. Like, he went out there for like a lazy intercept because it was too quick around the ruck.
And, I feel like over the last year or so, we've seen these little moments from the Roosters where they're putting it together, and then next week, for example, Teddy's not available. So who plays fullback? Suaalii or Joey Manu comes back in, one of the two.
It was funny. What was the press conference where they
were mad. They were like, is Joe going to play fullback?
Yeah, Joey's playing fullback.
Yeah. Kieran just couldn't help himself.
I saw the caption, so I didn't see the context of what it was said. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, that is so vague. Who was playing? And then I didn't realise that it was a piss take.
Yeah, unreal. But like, they've still got to, they'll bring Manu back next week, whether he plays fullback or centre, and then they've got to bring Teddy back. They need to just get 10 weeks with all these big guns on the field so they can genuinely work out where they're all going to be playing.
I thought there was a real, like we spoke week after week and all through the preseason about how they were going to fit into all these attacking weapons and what sort of style of footy they played. They were quite clunky the first 3 rounds. And it's a credit to the Roosters that even with a tough draw to start the season, they've lost one game and they've grounded out these wins. But I thought they really wound it back on the weekend, and they played a lot more simplistic, easy style play. Quite a traditional, going out the back with lead runners and trying to create the space, score out wide.
Yep.
And instead of having blokes going everywhere, it was like, let's back the players doing that, to be too quick, to be too slick with their passing game and catch them out on the edges. Now, they were still a little bit clunky at times, but I thought it was far more effective. There was no Joey Marnie there, who was roaming all over the shop and probably
even Teddy only played 20 minutes.
Getting in the way of things. Even Teddy, Brandon Smith, who we thought, how many times are you going to come in and run? So take out his game where he got injured and played only a handful of minutes. First 2 weeks, round 1, round 3, he ran for 73 metres and 74 metres. He had 4 or 5 runs for 29 metres against Eels because a lot of it was just more focused on, quality, giving good service, a really simple style of footy, and they looked the best they've looked all year, I think. And still only scratching the surface, because rather than trying to make all these attacking weapons work, no, let's just rein it in and play simple rugby league.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think they definitely looked the best they looked a year. What's really interesting with the ladder is Roosters being incredibly scratchy, Storm nowhere near. Both Storm and Roosters aren't anywhere near their best, and yet Roosters currently sit 3rd, Storm currently sits 6th. It is just a testament to these clubs. This is the reason why they've been around and dominating for so long. Because when you go look at the bottom, Eels, Cowboys, Rabbitohs as well, because you would say Rabbitohs are probably a step down from the Roosters and Storm. It just shows you that these clubs, they have a standard, and even when they're not playing anywhere near their best footy, they still are in the top 8.
Shout out to Drew Hutchinson, exiled NRL part-time halfback at the Dragons, gets a run occasionally, goes over to the Super League, goes all right, comes back, Trent Robinson sees a bit in him, and now just slots in at lock, hooker, halfback, centre, wherever he's needed. He's not the quickest bloke on the field. He's not the strongest, not the most naturally gifted. Just slots in at centre and kills it.
Kills it. Did you see what Trent Robinson said about him?
No.
He said he's our Orbo.
He
literally said he is the new Orbo.
I was saying on my podcast the other day that I was at, remember the game last year where the Roosters absolutely gave it to the Tigers at the SCG, and last year I was at that game and I was there and a guy came up to me and said, Hutcho's Orbo. And I went, he's not at that level. And he goes, mate, Hutcho is Orbo. And I sort of went, okay, sure. He's good. He's handy to have. But I didn't even hear Trent Robinson say those words. But all I could think the other night was, he has earned Trent Robinson's trust and respect to the point, I remember sitting in the trials watching the Roosters going, oh my God, these young outside backs, there are so many of them. Got Corey Allen, they got all these guys at the club. Centre goes down, he just goes, no, you jump in there. I know you'll do a job for me. And of course, scores the first try.
Well, it's funny because Trent Robinson, so in the press conference, someone said, what about Drew Hutchinson? And Trent Robinson said, please don't tell anyone about Drew Hutchinson. Please don't. He is our best, basically he's our best kept secret. He is the Orbo of essentially this generation. I'm paraphrasing obviously, but he definitely said he is the new Orbo. And he's right. He is absolutely right. And, a lot of people that just probably watch rugby league casually don't realise that Drew Hutchinson coming through the ranks was the next big thing. He was a big half, down at the Dragons, the heir apparent, and he did he did ACL or something like that as he was coming. Had a tough run with injury, keeps battling, keeps fighting. Even when he broke his bloody ribs last year and I think his lung collapsed, I was going to message him, but I was like, don't want to be a fucking loser. You know what I mean? Well, just older guy doesn't even know him and fucking messaging you saying, because I broke my ribs and my lung collapsed. It takes a while to get confident again. Takes quite a while, and I was just gonna anyway.
I think the other big thing about him is, and you'll be able to touch more on it, but just having another guy on the field with a left foot kicking game is massive. If they end up in trouble on last or they get rushed or whatever, swing the ball out to him and he'll always come up with a good option. You go back to that 2021 season, Sam Walker was halfback, he was 5'8". Sam Walker could barely kick the ball. Yeah. It was all down to him.
Yeah, it's a testament. And, now he's going to be a part of a top tier club and be appreciated and respected. You need Drew Hutchinson in your squad. Sometimes more than you need a superstar in your squad. That sounds absurd, but I'm telling you right now, if you don't have a bloke that can plug holes and play high quality footy, that can tear your whole season apart, because you lose a couple of people and then all of a sudden your centre is really weak or your lock's really weak. So, no, I'm a huge fan of what Drew's managed to achieve. And, he represents so much what that club's about, really. Staying loyal, earning your right, not complaining, and that's what that club's about. Like, you be loyal to them, they will be like. I thought it was interesting what Nick Politis said about Suaalii. Really disappointed to lose him. I hope he goes away, wins the World Cup, and he comes home. He'll always be a Rooster. And I was like, that. I think that I would be shocked if we ever see Suaalii play for anyone other than the Roosters. Yeah. I think that that's the kind of deal that's been made between Suaalii and the Roosters. That if you want to go play Wallabies, sweet. But if you're going to come back in the NRL, be with us. Great for the Roosters, looking real good. And how interesting that they've only had one loss, and like you would say that they've been quite underwhelming. Quite underwhelming.
Definitely underwhelming. Yep.
And they've had one loss, and ever since then they're basically 4 on the trot now. And no one's really talking about it. So, really good signs. Now, Panthers v. the Raiders. This segment, it doesn't have it here, and I've just made it up on the spot. It's brought to you by Bloke Beer. Go and grab some. Panthers defeat the Raiders 53-12. Now, it was at Raiders' home ground, though, wasn't it? Yeah. Look, an absolute schmozzle, an absolute demolishing. I said it last week, and I guess I'll say it again. I am a bit concerned about the Raiders. Like, I think at the moment, obviously they could make the 8, but I don't think they will make the 8. Happy to be wrong. Happy to say I'm wrong, all that kind of stuff. You all know I rode the milk home last year, but they just, put it this way, I think it was about 30 minutes into the game, 35 minutes into the game, they had relatively, like the Panthers had more possession, but not crazy amounts. The Panthers team had run for double the amount of metres as the Raiders. And for a Raiders side to get that dominated, it's literally the one area where they shouldn't get dominated is metres made. Like that's where they take it to, teams. And so that's my concern at the Raiders at the moment, is that we've always understood that they're quite forward focused. Their pack is where all their money is focused. It's the way they play their footy. Jackie Whiten gets on the back of it. And I understand Jackie Whiten wasn't playing, but even at the moment, their forward pack really isn't in the top, not even top 8 right now form-wise. And yet, in years where they've made the 8, you always would have a Raiders pack in the top 4 at least. And right now, form-wise, they're just not playing anywhere near where we know they can.
You go, mate.
Yes, they are not looking good at the moment. Fact.
Brought to you by Bloke Beer.
Scoop. Brought to you by Bloke Beer. So tough because going into half time, as you said, Kempy, that the run meters were against us, possession against us. Just everything that sort of could go wrong seemed to have gone wrong. Did get a sin binning in our favour, and we were down 13-6, and I thought the 2 tries from Taruva were off kicks.
Yeah.
I was going, you know what? This is all right against the dual defending premiers. Good signs. 40 minutes later, I was like, pick me up and cradle me. It was just dour. And you mentioned around the forward pack and how battling they are. One of the simplest things in the game I find, I've spoken a little bit about it on the podcast before, and I've referenced the Broncos when they've been battling, is just one-off runners. We're not playing in unison. Like you said, when all of our attack and a lot of our footy is centred around our gun forward pack, they're just going up one-off and getting picked off and belted, and there's no shape around the ruck. Like, have 2 runners coming off your right edge of the hooker, have 2 runners coming off the left edge, have a bloke sweep coming out the back of that, just to get these quick play the balls, and they just don't look like they're playing on the same page.
To further your point with that, and this is going to sound fucking stupid, but it's just to put my point across. If your forward pack had Paddy Carrigan at 13, I guarantee you'd be fucking rolling teams. Because you watch the Broncos, Paddy Carrigan, like Reynolds barely touches the ball. It's Paddy passing to Paynehouse, Paddy passing to Flegler, as I said, to further your point, you guys need a forward that goes, I'm going to take control of this set and tip on and hit out the back. And at least, if it is a one-out ruck, at least I've given them the illusion that I'm going to pass it. Yeah,
it holds up defenders. They have to, they'll sit back on their feet because they can't overcommit to the one bloke going up by himself. So it could go anywhere. And
like this is the meters run, bro. And look, I understand, the possession-wise rower. Tarpanier was the only only forward to hit over 100 metres. Papali'i, 83. Hudson Young, 33. Elliot Whitehead, 75. Hatawiranara, 21. And I'll just go to the bench. Sorry, 2 secs. On the bench, Emre Gula, 58.
Oh.
Corey Horsburgh, 33. Solo, 17.
We had 2 players run for over 100 metres. One was Tomoko, 129, and then Taps, 103. Like, when was the last time Joe Tapney ran for only 103 metres? And, he had a massive crack, as he always does.
Yeah.
But, granted, we were belted, so it makes it tough. But, man, we're struggling. Oof.
And, it's all... The problem with this is, this is all things... you had a 67% completion rate. It's like, if you're going to go into a team... You're going to go into a game without Jackie Whiten, these are the things you can control. Your completion rate and running hard. I'm not saying they didn't run hard, because, as you said, they just got dominated. But... I'm getting a little bit concerned for the Raiders. I just don't know where, and which is kind of surprising to me, because I actually thought coming into this season that they'd improved their roster. What do you reckon, Guru?
Yeah, I didn't expect them to win this game, but I didn't anticipate this. I thought the whole game would be like the first half. They'd hang in there. They'd lose by 10 to 14 points. You'd go, the Raiders were brave. They just didn't have the polish on to get it done. To concede that many points in the second half was a
at home
worry at home, and I think. I don't know Ricky Stewart overly well, which might shock some of you, but just seeing his body language after the game, he just looked lost for words. I think that sort of shell-shocked him a little bit from what I saw.
What do you do?
What do you say? What do you do?
You look at the roster, that's a roster that should be competitive. Even without Jackie Whiten, that shouldn't be getting beaten.
Well, I said last week, we're a side that we're not the most stellar roster in the competition. We're not going to blow teams out of the park, but we shouldn't be losing games by many. Yeah. And then this happens, good one, good take.
Because look at this. This is their starting forward pack. Papali'i, Tarpane, Hudson Young, Elliot Whitehead, Hatawiranara. On their day, that's a top-tier forward pack. And they got absolutely blown off the park. So I'm not sure. Look, the good thing is they still have the roster and people on paper that when they get a roll on, it'll be big. When they get a roll on, it'll be good. But I think that we're really starting to see they don't necessarily need a ball-playing 13 like Cam Murray or Isaiah Yeo, but they just need a forward in there that is just offloading or passing. And I think Paddy Carrigan's no one would sit here and say Paddy Carrigan is like Isaiah Yeo and Cam Murray, or Victor Radley. But if you watch the Broncos game, he is constantly ball playing around the ruck. If he's not ball playing, long balls or hitting out the back or whatever, he's just going, Oi Payne, stand over there. Oi Flegler, stand over there. Jensen, stand over there. And if I honestly feel if the Raiders, and what surprises me is I feel like Hatawiranara has the ball skills to do that. Maybe he just needs to get
There's a few of them that do in that team, in my opinion.
Elliot Whitehead has the ball skills to do that. So it's they play
the Broncos this Saturday night. It'll be
a cracker.
Yeah,
because they'll get up for it. I think they'll get up for it.
I agree.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if they don't.
Yeah, it's potential boil because the odds will blow out for obvious reason, and it's not even saying that I think the Raiders go further than the Broncos this year or any of that at all. But look, what we've seen with the Raiders in recent years is that when the backs are against the wall, they get up for games and they tough it out. So. I think I'm really hoping it's a tight one.
I think they'll make this a real dogfight.
Yeah.
I really do. But, unfortunately, the Panthers, when you mix the Panthers forward pack with crazy class backs, this is what happens. And also, from the Raiders' perspective, you go, oh, what a great first half. From the Panthers' perspective, you also say, what a great first half. We've made these guys work their asses off. Here's where the points come. Because they you know what I mean? They're sitting there going, let's say it was the Broncos that got beaten by that amount. You'd be sitting there going, all right, well, they hung here in the first half. But that's what the Panthers want. Yeah. Hang in there because we're going to blow you off the park in the second half. We're not a front-runner team that comes out, scores. Because remember, a couple of years ago, when they lost to the Storm, Ivan Cleary actually had this method where no matter what, we win the first 20 minutes. No matter what. And they actually changed, not necessarily their style of play, but their messaging around that 20-minute, blowing people off the park thing to we enjoy the grind. We want the game to be grindy, and you get results like this when you enjoy the grind. Hopefully they bounce back. Jordan Rapana. I love him though because he's still even if he has not the best game, he's still trying his absolute heart out.
We all have bad days at the office.
Oh, for sure. And what I like about Rapana is like for every one of these games, he'll give you 10 absolute battle games.
Yeah.
You kind of just go, okay, Rapana, you've earned the right to have a game like that because he'll do something crazy for you next week.
You never want to play against him.
No way.
Never.
I was chatting Kempy to Guru yesterday at the footy and we were talking about names popped up a few times this season, but Chevy Stewart, the young fella from Cronulla at fullback, playing New South Wales Cup. He's only 18, but been quite impressive in reserve grade. He had 18 runs for, granted, only 130 metres, but solid enough against the Penrith New South Wales Cup on the weekend.
Yep.
Scored a try. Plenty of X factor about him.
Yep.
It's a case of like, probably a little bit too soon to throw him into the deep end of the NRL, but at the same time, like, what are the Raiders got to lose at the moment before Xavier Savage comes back? Give him a crack because he's a future star. Going well in reserve grade, I'd just give him a run.
Yeah, I'd consider it because like Sebastian Chris, is he going to be a long-term fullback? Probably not. So may as well blood someone else.
Yeah. Is Xavier how many weeks away is he?
He was due like around 6 to 8 or something, so he wouldn't be too far. So maybe they're just thinking get
Holding
through
out,
him.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think they'll throw Chevy in there just yet. I think he'll be a star.
How old is he?
He's 18. So he's been playing SG ball for the Raiders all season. They've been killing it. They're undefeated. They skipped him past Jersey Flag, went straight to New South Wales Cup.
How many games has he had in New South Wales Cup?
3, 2 maybe.
2, I think, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. I thought he played the whole year in
He's
reserve
not
grade.
a huge body either.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's too early.
Yeah, okay.
personally.
I thought he'd played the whole year in reserve grade, like as in he trained.
No, he's only just gone up in the last year.
Yeah,
He's
okay.
gone from
fair
SG
enough.
ball.
No,
to
you don't
there.
want to fucking put him in yet, especially if he's not a big body.
No, he's not a huge
Desperate
body.
times. Desperate times.
When Xavier does come back, are you expecting Seb Chris to knock Harley out of the side?
Yeah, Seb back to centre. Harley, I like Harley as a footballer. I just think he's a winger.
Yeah.
He's been caught out a few times defensively at centre, and I like him on the wing. And look, Albert Hopwaiter's on the wing at the moment, so maybe Harley shifts to the wing. Yeah.
Well, and then you got Kotrick to return.
Kotrick returns as well. He's another couple of weeks away.
Yeah, so hopefully there's a big clash next week, Raiders versus Broncos. Now let's get on the Panthers.
We having a bet on that, or what, you two?
Yeah, I'll take my 48-point start. Sure.
We'll try and think of something.
Oh, the beauty of not having a footy side.
Okay, so Panthers, wow. Hoskins has been a revelation for them, in my opinion. I thought Isaiah Yeo was outstanding. Taruva's like that little grubber through to score, incredible. To'o's work, like they're there. They are a premiership threat, and they're probably they're not probably. I think they're the favourites still to win the comp.
They've got shorter this week.
Short,
370, I think, to win the comp.
Like, think about this. They did that without Sonny Luke.
Yep.
Like, they just put 53 points on someone.
James Fisher-Harris didn't play the vast majority of the game too.
Unbelievable.
And like, I understand people have been waiting for an opportunity to see the Panthers fall, struggle, whatever you want to call it. They haven't looked fantastic, but their defense in the first 5 weeks is better now than it was last year. They've conceded less points.
They're number one in the comp.
No team has scored more than 2 tries against them, and that's if you want to include the World Club Challenge, which people took as form. No team scored more than 2 tries on them. Brisbane has the second best defense in the competition, have been on fire. They're on average conceding 14 points per game. Penrith are conceding 10.
It's incredible. Like, they are a beast of a side, and they're not even close to their best yet. Like, it is just amazing what they have there. Hoskins a Queenslander or a New South Welshman?
It's from Newcastle.
Is he?
I assume he is. He's a good footballer.
Oh,
No, I'm pretty sure he is from Newcastle.
West Tigers
I
Junior.
could be wrong.
Anyway, look, I don't think he'll push into like Origin chalk yet, but damn.
Yeah, he's from the Newcastle area. But
Okay,
we've played his junior footy.
He's a stacked in the back row, but far out he is good. The lines he hit is this is just getting started too. Him and Nathan Cleary for the next 5 years. Fuck, he's good. I am super excited to see what Hosking does.
Yeah, and I think he will stay on that edge. I think they'll move Liam Martin over to the left side.
Mate, another 5 tackle breaks, 117 metres, 51 post contact, a line break, 24 tackles, only 1 miss, an offload. Far
He
out.
also got within centimetres of scoring another try, which would have added another try and another line break to his stats too. Like,
He is super impressive, and it's almost shocking that he hasn't played years of NRL. I just, for a bloke that works as hard as he does with the skill set that he has, unbelievable. He's so good. He's so dangerous on the edge there. Scotty Sorensen got his start. How good, the big fella, with a try assist as well, as usual. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say about this side? Like, they're fucking unbelievable. There's nothing really, like, Tyron Peachy was good. He got a try, I guess.
Have like wingers that are fantastic coming out of their own end ever been more important? And they lost Taylor May before a ball was kicked.
God,
hasn't even mattered. Like it honestly hasn't. Like
craziness. It is like Appy Coruscant, kick out. Before that it was Capewell. Like just incredible what they've done there.
And like my biggest negative about them to start the year has been that Mitch Kenny at 9 doesn't offer them enough. It sort of makes their attack a little bit stagnant. They go into this game without Sonny Luke and put on 53.
No. I want to give a shout out to Lindsay Smith. He got absolutely oosed a couple of times, but he still killed it when he came on. 35 minutes. He had a try assist, 124 metres, 52 post contact, a tackle break, 24 tackles and an offload.
He got absolutely bashed on every single hit up, and he just kept coming
going.
back.
Just kept going.
Just kept asking for more.
Yeah, like, please give me some more. So massive shout out to him. I thought he was outstanding. Spencer Lenu came on, absolutely killed it. He had 14 hit ups, and every hit up was 10 metres. Far out. Yeah, I mean, like, seriously, what else is there to say? I feel like we'd just be saying the same shit that we've said every single week when they kill it.
You were just waiting for them to explode, weren't you? Because they've lost 3 games this year by 1 point, and they're on 13 points at half time. So they scored 40 points in the second half. They were just waiting for them to explode.
And like, just the message it sends. We don't just do this at Panthers or in Sydney. We're going to go down to arguably the worst away game in the comp in Canberra and put 53 on them. Unbelievable. I want to give a shout out to Isaac Tongor. Like, he just flies under the radar. He has been immaculate ever since coming into first grade. I haven't seen a game where he's played less than a 7 out of 10. He is always 8 out of 10 or more.
And yeah, people talk about the 2 tries and everything. The tackle he made on Jamal Fogarty was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That was a try every day of the week. And for him to come up with that was huge. And I've been saying it for a while, but I think you still aren't seeing anywhere near the best of Isaac. He's got so much more upside in attack that once this Panthers side starts to click and they sort that left edge out, he's got a nice little kicking game. He's a little bit quicker than what people give him credit for. He's got so much more to offer.
Yeah. I totally agree. I was a bit surprised, like, the commentators are like, Jerome Luai needs to get more involved. I thought he got way more involved this game. I liked the stepping back on the inside, because all you're doing is you're building a game plan where you're forcing the defence to always be aware that something could happen on the inside. You're also making sure that your defender stays square and doesn't just slide off you. I thought Jerome was pretty good this game.
I think Jerome's just a bit of an easy comment at times.
Yeah, it is an easy out to just go.
It's an easy out, so that's the problem. Bullshit.
Yeah. Oh, look, as I said, what do you reckon, Timmy? Anything to add, mate?
Yeah, I mean, interesting on Luai that, like, the left edge were dominant.
Yeah.
You know, Taruv got a double, albeit off kicks, but Tungo had one of his best games in the NRL. It'd be interesting when Liam Martin does come back to see how the new combination comes together of Martin and Luai, but, mate, they were fantastic. As you said, you sort of run out of things to say about them, and they, rightly so, will be firming to go for 3 on the trot, because, God, they look good.
It's like they don't look tired. They don't look fatigued. I say it every week, but if you get a chance, please go and watch All the Way documentary. Because you just get to see. Think about this: they've only lost 1 game this year so far to the Broncos. No, 2. Broncos and Eels.
Yeah.
And so 2 top tier sides.
By 1 point.
Yeah, both by 1 point. Not only have they lost Kickout, Coruscant, Capewell the year before. I think they lost Burton as well. They lost both their assistant coaches. They lost Trent Barrett the year before, and I know people like to have a cracks at Trent Barrett, but at the end of the day, he was a part of that Panthers side that won the comp. So don't discount the contribution he had to that.
And despite him not doing overly well as a head coach, they wrapped him galore.
Yeah, he's a good assistant coach, and there's nothing wrong with that, because it's better than what we're doing. So just chill out with that shit. They lost both their assistant coaches, who have gone on to prove how good they are. So they've not only had arguably a clean out in regards to playing roster, their whole coaching staff has been cleaned out.
Yeah, and if you want to go back even further, all of this started with James Maloney leaving. It's unbelievable.
It is incredible what they're doing there. They don't look like slowing down. Go and watch the documentary all the way. It's on 9 now. And yeah, I think you get to see, you don't necessarily see Ivan Cleary, although he does have the footy now. He understands footy. You know, he's a player. He gets it. But just how much he cares about his players and how well he just balances that interaction and, you know, like the man management side of it. It's really important to see. And it shows you why they're so good.
And as far as a man manager as well, I think it was so evident how much he trusts his assistant coaches just to do their job.
Yep. And cares about the players. He's almost like a bit of a father figure to him.
I love that moment where there was a moment in there where it was the week before the grand final, Stephen Crichton went down with an injury. Yeah. And they checked him out and he was okay, and he came back over and he sort of went over and he went, I'm okay. Ivan bear tackled him and threw him around. I was just sitting there going, fuck, he thought he just did his peck.
I know.
You just chill the fuck out. But he just loves them.
He loves them. He loves it. So, yeah, really, really good stuff. I'm so happy for the Panthers boys. I'm happy for Ivan Cleary. You know, I played under him. You know, it wasn't his cup of tea. Got dropped by him, but it's all good. No, but I'm just happy to see because, like, you know, if you go back and you will actually look at Ivan Cleary's career, he came into coaching as like this, almost like a Serraldo to a degree, like this young coach. Had heaps of success at the Warriors that wasn't appreciated because they just got used to the success that Ivan Cleary had brought. He left, and then all of a sudden everyone went, oh, like, and don't get me wrong, the Warriors tried to keep him. He just wanted to get back to Australia. But then everyone at the Warriors was like, oh, shit, we actually didn't realise the gem that we had when we found him. Then he leaves the Warriors, has some tough years, and you go, oh, okay, maybe he's kind of petered out as a coach. Goes to the Tigers, you know, for all the jokes, and people like to blame the people that he signed, the best year they had over the last decade was under Ivan Cleary. And people like to blame Ivan for this or that or whatever. I think they'd love Ivan still at the club right now.
Well, I don't know how to say this without people trying to take the piss out of it, but, you know, the Tigers, their entire franchise for the last 10 years has been on Luke Brooks. The year he won Dally M halfback of the year, who was a fucking coach?
It's Ivan Cleary.
Not trying to take the piss out of Brooksy here, but that might be his greatest achievement. Across that 10 years, he got the absolute best out of Brooksy in that calendar year. Yeah. And around that, it hasn't been close.
And we're not trying to sit here and say, like, you know, there weren't, you know, Ivan admits that the way it ended was poor, but it was just, he had two options: be loyal to the contract or whatever, or take a lifetime opportunity and be with his son. And he took, even though ethically or morally it might look wrong, he took that path because he was like, I'm just never going to get this chance again.
100%.
And so you can be angry as Tigers fans, for sure. Like 100%, I understand why you'd be upset. But I think we all understand, maybe it could have been handled better, but I think we all understand the thought process. Like, we get it. Anyway, and then he goes back to so he's at the Panthers, gets sacked. So Gus Gould gets rid of him.
Yep.
Goes to Tigers. Then, you know what? I would love to see like a mini documentary on, did Nathan Cleary say to the club, if you don't sign Ivan, I'm going to wherever he is, I'm going. And then did the Panthers go, and this is all conjecture, guys, this is all conjecture, did the Panthers go, shit, like, we need to get Ivan Cleary back here again? Because it does seem weird that you would sack a bloke and then bring him back 3 or 4 years later. Anyway, so Ivan Cleary comes back and then boom, they just explode. And no, they don't just explode. They have a shocking year and he gets annihilated in the media and everyone is sitting there going, you know, this father-son pairing is terrible. It was a bad decision for the club to bring him back, and then boom, they explode.
The father-son thing is such a gamble.
Oh,
to put all your eggs in that basket with your coach and your halfback who's, you know, at the time the best young talent in the league is such a gamble.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. Like, it's amazing that it has paid off and everything, but geez, there was a real reality where this could have been and probably should have been in all likelihood. That was one of my best ones. I almost died there. I thought I was getting better too. Yeah. In all likelihood, like, that could have been a train wreck.
Well, it was the first year.
Yeah.
Like, Ivan Cleary was genuinely questioning whether, you know, coaching. Now they're back-to-back and they're heading into the 30. Anyway, incredible stuff. And when I ran into Ivan, I said, mate, what you've done is absolutely amazing. And he still, in my opinion, doesn't get enough credit for what he's achieved.
I've spoken to a lot of guys, had him on the podcast stuff, that have been coached by him at some point, and a lot of them say, oh, he dropped me. but none of them are dirty at him. All of them seem to understand why, and now in hindsight look back and they all say I was filthy at the time, but they look back and go, I get it now. I understand what he was saying.
Yeah. Like, I will say he's definitely improved as a coach.
Yep.
Like, I think some of his communication when he was a bit young, like a bit earlier in his career, like with me, he didn't communicate that well in regards to like the way it all happened. But as you get older, you realise the position they're in as head coaches and how fucking hard it is. And also, you look back in my specific situation and you go, or I say to myself, Denon, you weren't putting yourself out there. You contributed massively to that happening. So I agree with you. Like, as you get older, you realise, you know what, it was my fault that I got dropped. If I was playing good footy, I wouldn't have been dropped. It's that simple.
And also, like, he is, like, when he was at the Warriors and everything, like, a young coach.
A young as.
Like, he should be learning. He should be making mistakes.
And
he should be learning
coaches
from them, and he has.
aren't given enough time to become better.
Yep.
They aren't given enough time to grow into their career. Like we always say, when an 18-year-old player comes in, we say, be patient, give them time. We never say it with coaches. In the first 2 years, if you don't have success, it's like, this is a bum, rah. Look, Ivan Cleary is a perfect example of giving someone time, and what he's achieved is absolutely phenomenal. And I will say, like, regardless of whether he drops you or doesn't drop you, he's a good person. Like, he's a good human being, which is something you can always get behind. I mean, look at his son, Nathan Cleary. Like, you don't have a son that level, that grounded, unless you're not a good father. Now, actually, before getting to the next game, I'll give you a shout out to the most considerate bloke in the history of mankind. So I was at the gym, and there's a lot of people that enjoy the podcast and the social media or whatever. So I get stopped quite a bit or whatever. And when you're at the gym, you obviously got your headphones in. So usually people come up and they'll be like, "Hey mate, how you going?" And you'll pull your headphones out. "Hey, how you going?" Whatever, which is fine, which is totally fine. I got no issue with that. I'm always very appreciative of people that enjoy the content. But this bloke, whilst I was on the elliptical, like treadmill or whatever, so considerate that he literally, so I got my headphones in, I'm just fucking cruising. He literally walked up with what he wanted to say in notes and then kept walking.
Wow.
Most considerate cunt in the history of mankind. And for that, if you're listening right now, we're deep in the podcast, so maybe you're not, email Matt@blokeinabar and make sure you email what you wrote in that message so that I know that it was you that did it, and I'll give you a $250 voucher to Bloke.
Ruins my next question. I was going to ask what he said, what he wrote to you. But sure.
Yeah, well, I just, pretty just like love the show or whatever.
I back
pretty much.
that. Yeah.
But,
What a legend.
What a legend. How considerate is that? And again, no knocking the people that say hi and make you take your headphones off. I no issue. But I mean, to write it down and go boom and then just keep walking, that's super considerate. Super considerate. So if that's you, make sure to send us an email so we can give you that voucher, mate, because that's... Oh, mate. Now, store shout-outs. Lake Macquarie Hotel on Wednesday, the 5th of April. That's this Wednesday. Go to liquorlegends.com.au, select the Lake Macquarie Hotel store and use code TAKEITOFF and you'll receive 20% off your order. Reese and Aaron have over 30 cartons of midi stacked in the store, and with this code, it means they are selling for $39.34. Literally cannot beat these prices, so get online and grab some Bloke midi. So that's Lake Macquarie Hotel on Wednesday. So this Wednesday coming in 2 days, the 5th of April. Go to their website, select Lake Macquarie Hotel, use the code Take It Off in caps lock, so all in caps, and you'll receive 20% off your order. They've got 30 cartons of Bloke midi that'll go for $39.34 this Wednesday. Again, guys, if you go and do these like promos and you support wherever we're announcing, the more promos we can do. So make sure to get in. And if you've wanted to try our midi, make sure to get it for $39.34. Now, Spa Supermarket at Boolaroo have a big stack of Bloke Lager and Bloke Midi right next to the front counter, selling at great prices, so get in and grab some Bloke beer. That is Spa Supermarket in Boolaroo. Barawa Tavern. Is that how you say it? Barawa? Barawa Tavern. $5 Bloke cans from the bar during any game of footy. Get in and see Tom and his team and enjoy Bloke cans while watching the footy. IGA Ritchie's in New Lambton. Brooke and her team have been getting great feedback around Bloke beer lately, so get in their store and show some support and grab some Bloke beer. That's IGA Ritchie's in New Lambton. Kiama Downs Celebrations. Kiama Downs Celebrations is Stocks Blokes beer. IGA Waverley. West Hoxton celebrations, Cringilla celebrations, and Horsley Village Cellars. All stock Bloke beer. Get in your local, grab some beer. Now let's get into Storm defeating the Rabbitohs 18-10. Wow. Like, what an important win for the season for this. You could even argue this could be a season-defining win. It could go from a disaster start to the year to, okay, we know what works. This is what the Storm was all about, defending our asses off, not giving away cheap points, keeping the opposition to low-scoring affairs so that we can get the win. I thought Munster is such a huge impact on that side. You can see how much of a difference he makes. I think it's like very different to yesteryear where you could take one or two stars out and they would still kind of play the same kind of footy. I think that they actually are quite reliant on their superstars now. In saying that, Cam Smith never missed a bloody game, so that's also an underrated factor. Look, are the Storm as dominant as we've seen in previous years? No. But was that the Storm spirit that we know and what always makes us go, no matter who puts on that purple jersey, they're going to fucking rip and tear? Yes, it was. It was some of the most gutsy, courageous defence I've seen in a while from the Storm. And yeah, they may not be the attacking powerhouse right now, but if they keep playing like that, they're going to put themselves in a position to, when they have all their players back, to go on a run.
For sure, they're without their fullback, they're without their halfback in this game. As you said, mate, Cam Munster, he just makes such a difference.
Far out.
They genuinely look like a different football side with him. It's similar to what the Cowboys look like without Scott Drinkwater. I'm sure they'll look completely different as soon as he comes in, but Munster's just on another level. Mate, I think if they play like that, they'll win the vast majority of games in this competition, especially once they get all their troops back and whatnot.
That defence at the end there, holy shit.
Very impressive. And some guys that over the last few weeks, like Will Warbrick 2 weeks ago, I was sitting there going, geez, I think he's in some trouble to keep his spot. Trent Leroux had a lot of question marks around him as well. These guys have just stepped up.
Trent Leroux, Leroy or Leroy or Leroux?
Liero.
I was honestly unsure whether he was even a first grader. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I just mean, I don't mean like he can't play first grade. I mean on the fringes, can kind of lose his spot, be brought back in, maybe on the bench. But he's almost been like a damaging first grader the last couple of weeks. And
you have a look on the weekend, Tarek Sims was named in the 17, got dropped last minute. They sent him back to Queensland Cup to get minutes into him. How tempting would it have been? I mean, they carried Grant Anderson on the bench and didn't put him on the field. How tempting would it have been just to carry Tarek Sims anyway?
Yeah.
Instead, they go, no, we'll stick to our process. We'll get minutes in him in Queensland Cup. We'll bring him back when he's ready and just backs in the troop that he's got against the top 4 team in South Sydney and get the W.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Absolutely. Like, it's like for a few weeks now, I think we've all been looking at each other going, oh, these Storm decisions they usually make and pay off, they're not paying off. Whereas this was a weekend where you go, oh, all of those typical Storm decisions, they're paying off.
Yep.
They're paying off big time.
Whilst they might not be the same team that they've been for the last 15 years when I look at them, it's almost like they've proved over the last few weeks that they're not superhuman.
Yeah. And it's
still
also
better than us. They're still better. They're not the average human. There's no doubt about that.
And it's like it's almost unfair because we're comparing this Storm side against 20 years of arguably the greatest spine we've ever seen pretty much. Or at least I'll say arguably, just don't kill me. And we're comparing this team to that. Yep. Not only are they not at full strength, like even at full strength, it would be unfair to compare that to this team they've had the last 20 years. These guys are decimated by injury and they still get compared to that, which is a compliment. We say that every week. It's a compliment. I do think it's interesting. Have we got any mail on Holworth? Has he been playing?
I think he's been playing up there. Yeah, I just think he's.
Wow, they're patient.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's patient. I think it's just as it stands, falling down the pecking order. And
I think that there was word that came out that he had an injury at the start of the year. That's why he missed the trial. What I've been told the entire time is that he's not ready yet.
Yeah, wow. Because he's on a big contract, 3-year, $500K a year deal, reportedly at least. Anyway,
it was 5-year when he signed it. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was a 5-year deal, and that's unheard of. Storm.
Smithy wasn't getting 5-year deals. He might have been, but
no, he wasn't. He didn't get no 5-year deal.
It looks like he's played only the 2 games in Q Cup so far, rounds 1 and 2. I don't know if the website.
Since then?
I don't know if the website just hasn't updated, but this is on QRL website, so
they're normally pretty good.
Yeah, they're normally pretty good.
So I mean, that's also concerning the amount of injuries that he's already sustained. He could be unlucky. We've seen way worse injuries come back. But again, it's more this guy coming through the grades anyway. Special player. Pezet continues to improve. Just what I loved is the fact that his defense is getting a little bit better. How's this? We wrap Munster like, fuck, how good's Munster? 32 tackles, 12 missed tackles. But it's what we said at the start of the show is not all missed tackles are equal.
Perfect example, hey?
Perfect example. Like, he didn't play like a 12 missed tackles. I guarantee you those missed tackles would have been shooting up, hitting blokes, trying to hit blokes.
Jack Howarth played on the weekend.
He did play on the weekend. What was his stats
So
like?
stats must be a little bit off. Scored a try. How did he go? 13 runs for 198 metres. 2 line breaks. One offload. 25 tackles, 3 missed.
Wow. Maybe that's his first really, really good game in Q Cup. Maybe they're just being super patient.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it bizarre.
He hasn't got a bench
last
spot.
week, to be fair. So it's round 1, round 2. They had a bye last week. Then he played in that
What's
game.
his stats round 1, round 2? Because as I said, this guy, he can fucking play. And it's just, it is so Storm-like to be super patient. Broncos used to do it all the time. Broncos used to be real good at that, being patient with their young players coming through.
Yeah, I was just having a look at his round 2 game. They won by 56 and topped the tackle count with 18. So might not be much to read into. Big wins.
In round 1, he had a couple of try assists. Few missed tackles in the first couple of rounds. 6 in the first game, 4 in the second game. So maybe that's something. But yeah.
But like, what's going on when we know what he's capable of? Form sounds pretty good in Q Cup. The Storm, they had to reach out of their top 25 and get exemptions this season. I know.
Heaps.
Yeah,
heaps. Remember when we said Farlogo?
Yeah.
Farlogo wasn't in the top 30. He's still not in the top 30. They had to get an exemption to put him in the
he had
squad.
exemption.
There's more to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So they've had exemptions to get players in. They've been light on forwards.
Do you reckon just super patience? Super patience?
I reckon more to it.
Yeah.
I reckon there's more
Don't want
to
to
it
jump to
now.
any conclusions, but
Yeah.
it's...
But like, we had a trial 6 weeks ago where they picked 26 players and they had all the injuries in the world. He still wasn't one of them.
Do you reckon it might be along the lines of just trying to teach him, even
Quite
though you're on a
possibly.
big contract, you haven't earned anything yet? Because I do know that, like, sometimes coaches will literally drop players just to send a message, thinking of the long term.
Yeah.
Like, the player hasn't done that much wrong, but they just want to show the kid, like, no one owes you anything. And I'm not saying this is what's happened with Alex. As we've all said, we don't know what's happening. We just know how good the kid is, and it is surprising he hasn't been put on the bench yet. Coaches sometimes, they take a bit of hurt, especially the good ones like Craig Bellamy. They take a bit of hurt short term to create a beast long term. And I know Alex Holworth, it's Alex Holworth. Jack. Why did I say Alex for? What the hell? I was one of the first ones to talk about him, Holworth, even before Guru, which was literally before Holworth was born. I came in the doctor's room, I was like, we're about to produce a superstar. And
So this is Alex.
this is Alex. And you said, Guru said, no, it's actually Jack.
You dickhead.
Jack Holworth, this kid he's a beast. He is a beast. Remind me a lot of Angus Crichton coming through.
Exactly like Angus Crichton coming through. So, yeah, you might be right, Kempy. Maybe it is just a patient thing. Maybe they're playing in the long game, but I worry there's a little bit more.
Harry Grant, try saver.
Whoa.
Fuck, I love watching Harry Grant play. He's got to be the most exciting hooker we've ever seen. Surely.
I think so. Like, if he's not now, I think he will be by the end of his career.
Because, like, you've got Cam Smith, who he's for the real, like, purists to the game. Like, to know what he's doing, you've got to know rugby league. Whereas if you're a casual fan, you unfortunately, and this sounds really, like, snobbish, but unfortunately, you just don't know enough about the game to see what he's actually doing in the game. That's what made him so great, is, like, before you knew it, he'd literally controlled 70 minutes of a game, and you're like, was Cam even on the bloody field?
Yeah.
And he's just fucking controlling everything. Whereas Harry Grant, you notice him constantly. He's so exciting to watch.
And these are the little moments that separate him. If he wasn't there to make that tackle,
Oh, mate.
no one says anything. No one notices. There's
I think it's
put on
pretty
Harry.
clear now, out and out best hooker in the game.
Yeah.
Like, any debate with that, you reckon?
The only one that I would put in the same conversation is Ben Hunt, who doesn't even play hooker. But I would still go Harry.
I don't think it's even remotely close.
I hadn't debated it for 18 months, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
He's so good.
He's so fucking good.
I like constantly watching the game with mates, whoever. Everyone's always like, "Fuck, wish he was from New South Wales." Every single game, he's so good.
I think there's I'm confident in that. I think he will be the second best hooker ever.
Oof.
Yeah. Well,
Huge.
at a good club, he's already had Origin moments. Like he's owned an Origin already. Yeah, it's not a bad shout.
You have a look through like other great hookers, like you go back to like your Steve Walters and these sort of guys. Like the game has just changed so much that I think hooker is a much more important position.
Would
now.
Danny Badiris be number 2 for you at the moment?
Yeah,
in the modern era?
I think Danny, and I don't want people to get upset here, but I think Danny Badiris is his legacy is a little bit hurt and tarnished because he fell into the shadow of Cam Smith. I just think Harry Grant's going to be the best guy for 15 years.
Yeah, it's a good point.
And that's really harsh on Danny Medeiros, but when you're talking about the best 0.01% of all time, you got to split them. And I think Harry Grant, the skill set he's got is unbelievable.
I will say at club level, I'm trying to think, at club level in the big games, I haven't seen him own like a big finals match yet.
For sure, but...
He will, though. He will.
Yeah. And I mean, he's 25 years old.
Yeah. Like,
and that's the thing. Like, we hold him to a standard of a 30-year-old hooker right
now
because of how good he
sure.
is. And he's obviously come in under Smith. Brandon Smith won a Dally M Hooker of the Year a few years ago, and they said, "Oh, we're good."
What
Harry.
I love about Harry's story as well is like, how often do we see young superstars get impatient? Go, I am not sitting around fucking waiting anymore. I'm not sitting around. I am a first grader. What I love about Harry Grant's story is he was super patient, learnt off the goat, waited for his time. I guarantee you 9 out of 10 blokes would have left the Storm long before they got a crack after Cam Smith. And he basically, it would have affected his career probably negatively because he wouldn't have got those extra years under a guy like Cam Smith. And so, like, he's a real testament to tell young players sometimes be patient and stay in good systems because the rewards will come. They will come.
I can't believe you boys have just completely shot straight over the top of the famous Sid Sandy Pearce.
I saw him type into Google best hookers ever, and I thought, oh, fuck, here we go. He's coming off the back fence. This will be great.
Sydney Roosters 1911 to 1913, 3 premierships in a row. And you're talking about Harry Grant. What about Sandy Sid?
Oh, you've even got it highlighted. Shit.
Yeah. I mean, I knew all about Sid Sandy before the Google, but I just think he's just got to be in the argument.
Sid Sandy.
Yeah.
What a name. How's it spelled?
Nickname Sandy.
Oh, okay.
Sid Pearce.
Sid Pearce.
The Prince of Hookers, we used to call him.
Oh, yeah. So great stuff from the Storm, showing their identity. Josh King had a fantastic game. Got through a bunch of work, heaps of tackles, over 100 metres.
I was talking to a mate the other day who grew up in Newcastle with Josh King, and he said that Josh King didn't make their Harold Matts, didn't make their SG Ball. He sort of said he might have made a under-19s rep side.
Wow.
But just they never would have expected him to play first
Really?
grade, let alone be under Bellamy.
He's
now.
a definition of just a toiler,
Yep.
a rapper, isn't he? Like you can imagine him coming up through the grades. He wouldn't have stood out on a field at all.
No.
But get through
He
his
wasn't
hard
on the
yards.
field.
Yeah, never miss a tackle.
Yep.
Just a toiler.
All their outside backs ran for over. So you got Meany 133, Warbrick 143, Smith 148, Olam 149, and Coates 122, and Munster 141. What a evenly. That's what the Storm always do so well. Is like when you look at like stat leaderboards and that. Usually they're not at number one. They're spread across the board really well. So yeah, like a great win. I thought Kamikamitha was good.
It was such a, as I said, you mentioned before, but an old school Melbourne Storm win. They got the early lead and just ground away for the rest of the game. Like statistically speaking, team stats, the Bunnies dominated just about everything. They won possession. They doubled the tackle breaks, more post-contact meters, more offloads, less than half the missed tackles. But the Storm get their lead, grit, don't give it away. Like it was tough.
I feel like this podcast is all about not all missed tackles are equal. The Storm missed 52 tackles. But when you're willing to work and work and work for your teammate, you can make things happen. You can make things happen.
How good was it when Cam Munster got bumped out of that tackle and started just layering it up to the crowd? He's the best.
He's the fucking best.
Yeah.
Getting bumped, and the first thing you do is doing these ones. Like, bro, he just got bumped. The mad dog.
The only guy that could get away with that.
Yeah. He's just a legend. Fucking legend. Yeah, you're right in regards to like every stat they pretty much lost except for completion rate. Run meters they were beaten, post contact they were beaten, tackle breaks. Yeah, you're right, like more than doubled, and yet they found a way to win, which is so Storm-like.
Isn't it wild with their forward pack? Harry Grant missed 4 tackles, Welsh missed 5, Leroy missed 7, Eli Katoa missed 5, Josh King missed 5, conceded 10 points.
Crazy.
It
shows you how hard they're working for each other. Because the only way you don't get decimated is if you've got really good inside trail, working for each other constantly, scrambling really well. Like when I was at the Broncos, we didn't really focus on missed tackles that much. Like we just scrambled really hard. We always were a team that every play we fought to the end. Every play we fought to the end. So yeah, really important win for the Storm because it just gives them confidence now, you know? They can go back and go, okay, we still didn't play anywhere near to our best, but we got the win. So let's build off that kind of whatever energy we brought to this game that was different to other games. Let's keep that. Now, I know there will be some people saying that the Rabbitohs are missing players, but the Storm are missing players too. Like, it really is essentially even.
Storm are missing way more players.
Yeah, like so that doesn't count. So great win for the Storm. Great win for the Storm. Now onto the Rabbitohs. What's bizarre about the Rabbitohs is I think they've had actually a good. I like the start to the year, and yet they're currently sitting 13th and only won 2 games. It's weird, eh?
Yeah, you were pretty similar last year, though, weren't you?
Kind of, yeah. We've played a bit different, though. Like, the reason I more agree this year is because they're sitting 13th, still got the 3rd best defense in the comp at the moment, haven't conceded more than 20 points.
Had a few injuries.
It's for the first time I can't remember the last time where you're like, South aren't putting points on the board. So, a bit different last year. But, again, defensively, all good.
And you're attacking so differently too. Like if you watch South Sydney for the first time ever today and I said, yeah, they've got the best left edge in rugby league, you go, what?
You got
your edges wrong. It's a right.
Yeah.
Well, there's such an enormous difference on the ladder, at least where they sit on the ladder between these two sides. Long term, I still like the Bunnies and where they're at.
Yeah, as in this season, yeah. Which is crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Because you look at 13th versus 6th, and yet you'd say the Rabbitohs are probably, you're right, more exciting.
Better. They've looked better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And yet, look, isn't that just a testament to the Storm, though?
Yeah, for sure.
We've been sitting here saying, wow, probably worse we've seen the Storm in quite a while. They're friggin' 6, and they just beat the Rabbitohs. It's incredible. They beat the Eels at the start of the year too. But anyway, back to the Rabbitohs. Oh, man. I do think Latrell and Cody... I mean, Cody was really good on the weekend, but I do think that sometimes they start a bit slow, and it has been a bit of a talking point around the game, and it's probably one that I agree with a little bit. I think that Well, Cody was a bit different, but Latrell, for example, this game, or even not just this game, this season, we can see how good he is. He has these incredible moments, but I do think it takes him a little bit to warm into the game. And so if I'm Demetrio, and I'm sure he's, on top of it, he absolutely would be, but I'd be making sure, Trell, I need you to have 5 carries in the first 20 minutes, I need 5 carries from you. Because, when he does turn it on, he tears teams apart. Outside of that, I like the fact that the defense is really good. Keon, once again, puts up a fucking monster performance. Thomas Burgess, another big performance as well. But, yeah, just clunky in attack, which is so un-Rabbitohs-like. It's really un-Rabbitohs-like. What did you think of the Rabbitohs, Guru?
Yeah, I think Cody Walker, he looks sensational at the moment. I really like. I think he's got his confidence back. I said to Matty on one of the country tours, I said, fuck, I'm so sick of him pushing and shoving blokes and then sort of falling into a bit of a hole after that. I feel like the last 2 weeks he's just worried about himself, going about his own thing, and he's absolutely killed it. I think it's the best thing for South Sydney, and I understand that Cody Walker's got that stuff in his game, and I think in the past it's worked for him, but I think he's at an age now where he's seen it all before. He knows what he's doing week in, week out. He's the most skillful guy in the vast majority of fields. I think Cody just needs to focus on his own game and do what he's done the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, last 2 weeks. Because the first 2 weeks he was a bit quiet. But last 2 weeks, when he turns it on, far out is exciting.
And the first 2 weeks he had those, he had a moment against Penrith where instead of playing the ball, he tried to shove Mitch Kenny in the face. He missed him and dropped the ball, and just those little things that kept on coming into his game. Whereas last 2 weeks, I think he's been unbelievable, and he looks confident again.
Yeah.
He looks so confident. He had 20 runs of the football the other night. I want to see Cody running the ball 15 to 20 times. That's what I want. And if you're an opposition side and he's just dishing out the back, you're going, thank God. Last thing you want to deal with is a confident Cody Walker when he's running.
What are your thoughts on Trell? Do you think that first half he needs to get more involved?
Without a doubt, yes. They need to just find a way to bring him into it more.
He had 21 runs, which is unheard of for Latrell.
Yeah, Trell. When you look at his stats, you go, well, he's worked hard, but it feels like a lot of those runs came in maybe the last 40 to 50 minutes of the game.
And it's also like, and I just said to myself, then they need to find a way. Latrell's at a point in his career now where he needs to find a way to. They can't all be on South Sydney. Latrell has got this talent that no one else has in our league. Incredible hands, everything. He just needs to take it upon himself. And, it also wouldn't surprise me if we get to finals time and all of a sudden, Latrell's running 25 times now. Yeah. He understands the moments. He arrives at the moments. I think the South Sydney need a little bit more from him at the moment. I'll tell you what I think they are really missing. And when they signed him, I couldn't imagine him being this important. Havili from the Canberra Raiders. You're desperate to get him back through the middle. He's been such a good signing. Is Jai Arrow back this week? The week after?
There's a lot of unknowns because he re-aggravated his hammy, so I don't really know when he's coming back.
They haven't said much, have they, around Arrow? The thing with Havili as well, because he's that quick mobile lock forward, the smaller forward, it allows him to give Cam Murray a bit of a break. Murray's been playing massive minutes. It's a long season for him if he keeps doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, the Murray situation's interesting because you just... he's too tough for his own good. I don't want him going through that much work. I want to keep him as a Ferrari to a degree. Obviously, part of his game is the longer minutes. It is the grindy work. But I would love a scenario where you've got the luxury of just take him off for 5 to 10 minutes, give him that rest, even though he killed it on the weekend.
Their draw does soften up in the next couple of rounds. I mean, they've got the Doggies who are so depleted on a 5-day turnaround this week. And then I believe they have the Dolphins the week after. A few tough ones again after that. But this Bunny side has so much firepower that I do think they will have games where they do get good wins on the board and some decent margins. And they'll just say, mate, take the last 20, 25 off and relax. But, if it doesn't get to that point and they keep going, mate, 70, 80 minutes out of you. I
also think this week was, and all of this is in hindsight, but you've got a shocking record against Melbourne. Also coming off that John Sattler game, a lot of emotion went into that. They won that game, but they didn't play well. They had to really fight for that game. That one meant a lot. The next week after that, to get up again for Melbourne with money back in the side, in hindsight, a pretty tough gig.
Yeah, so the Troll's such an interesting one because I still think he's had a good start to the year. It's just that probably maybe even the first 20 of the first half, just a little bit more. Maybe even if don't even ball play, I just want some fucking mad hit ups from you, just to skill the defence a bit. But when you look at his stats, he still had 21 runs, 172 metres, 9 tackle breaks, a line break assist, a try assist. He still had a fucking great game.
But he is at the end of the day, he is one of the best players in this competition when his team isn't winning. He's one of the guys you look at and go, why aren't they winning? Yeah. He's got the ability to win games off the top of his head.
Well, he's literally one of the best match winners we've ever seen. Massive shout out to Cookie. 46 tackles, 0 misses. Far out. Unbelievable how much work he gets through, and he does it week in, week out. So look, not huge worrying signs at all for the Rabbitohs, I don't think. They've jagged 2 wins, so I think that once their draw does soften up a little bit, we'll see them pick up a bit of confidence. Things will start clicking. I definitely have them in my 8 still. Definitely have them in my 8.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, on to the draw. Manly drew with the Knights, 32-32. What a strange game. Manly are in a very, touch-and-go situation because, there's so many things that... Okay, so Seabold, he's had years where he started the year really well and then the year has just plummeted. So there's one thing that you've got to be like, I'm not saying that will happen, but it's just something you've got to be aware of. Like this has happened before where we've started the year well and then it's fallen apart. And it was such a danger game for Manly because they'd started so well and had so much buzz around them. Then they lose to, who'd they lose to last week again?
Manly.
South.
So yeah, they lost to South and you go, look, South, a lot of emotion in the game, rah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And so you can kind of just stow it away. It is Rabbitohs. But then, leaking 32 points against the Knights, you start to go, oh, is this Manly side going as well as we thought they did? Could their confidence be hurt by it? It's not, I'm not concerned yet for Manly, but it's definitely not ideal. Like if they were the side that we thought they were, they really should be putting the Knights away, quite handily.
Especially with the way they started.
Yeah.
It's 12-0 after 10 minutes or whatever. Like that.
And you
They
just
flew out of the gates.
Look at the rosters.
Yep.
So I don't know whether this was just Knights having a red-hot crack again, which was really good to see, and it shows you what they can do when they rip in for each other. Or whether it was Manly maybe getting a bit ahead of themselves, maybe thinking that they had it sorted when they didn't. I'm not sure. But, yeah.
It's a weird game of footy because I sat at the end and went, geez, Manly would be filthy they didn't win that. And I thought, fuck, so would Newcastle. They were all over them at one point. Like when Dominic Young scored his second try, I think it was after about 30 minutes, you went, fuck, they've completely turned the tables here.
Yeah.
How could my momentum turn again possibly? And yeah, it was wild. I don't know who'd be more pissed off that they didn't get the points here, but I enjoyed this one.
Oh, it was a fun game.
It was
fun as anything game.
What about that first try that Olakau'atu scored? God, he's a maniac.
He's a fucking maniac. What about Lockie Miller?
Poor bastard.
You've got to assume that he just lost where he was on the field.
Is that what it is, Joe?
Surely.
Yeah, he's been interviewed and he's like, apparently as soon as he realised, he thought, oh no, that's not going to look good on TV. So he admitted it, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just like he hasn't played that much NRL, so maybe his bearings were wrong because it didn't look good. Like if he intentionally did that, you'd drop him.
Without a doubt.
You would without a doubt drop him. It was so weird, and it was like if an outside back made that break, you'd be like, oh, okay, but because it's a big wide running forward that's scary, it made it look even worse.
Yeah,
like he was genuinely like, fuck that, I'm not taking Olakau'atu.
I loved every single one of my group chats. All since what the fuck was that? And in brackets, I would have done the same thing. I don't blame him.
made a business decision. But yeah, that try that Olakau'atu scored. And you know what? Olakau'atu's performance is kind of exemplifies the Manly situation. Like, he comes out and he does these incredible things, but I feel like the couple of errors that he made that were crucial in the game, he probably wouldn't have made them round one.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can just get a bit too energetic, a bit too much, and because you've had a few wins, you get away with it to a degree. And I think that, like, with Manly, I personally think Manly will be more disappointed. I really do. I think Knights can be really proud of that effort. Yeah, okay, you don't want to leak 32 points. But Manly, one of the form teams of the competition, coming into last week at least, you probably would have had them and the Broncos as like the form teams, or at least close to it. They'd be in the top four forward teams. And so the Knights to do what they did, again, look what the Knights can do when they rip and tear. Like they can fucking get in matches with top tier sides. And I think that the Dolphins situation, where a lot of people felt I was being harsh on them, I personally think that Adam O'Brien drew a line in the stand with his players and said that's not good enough. Like, us to leak that many points in the last 10 minutes, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough.
What do we think on the Bradman best try? I thought it was a try for all money, personally.
Oh, that's a tough one. I thought it was a try.
And I also think it should be noted that the play where Lockie Miller tapped the ball in was 100% out. So it goes both ways.
Yeah.
Like, all these referee decisions that go against you,
You'll get them back.
Just chill out.
Well, it's funny because last week Manly were blowing up a better forward pass.
Yeah.
And then they got that. It always comes around. Always grounds.
It's rugby league.
Look, I thought it was a try because it's like he never really. You could argue that he lost control of it, but he always really looked like he had it. But if you slow it down enough, there is one tiny second where it looks like the Manly's hand is holding it in, kind of, to a degree. But I think that, like, when situations like that happen, it's like, we don't need to look for reasons to not give a try. Like, I feel like when you don't give tries like that, you're looking for a reason to not give it rather than just going, I'm pretty sure he held on to that.
I hate the slow motion button.
I know.
As far as video replays.
The slow-mo kills me. Because put it this way, if that was in the middle of the field and he got up and played it, there wouldn't be a knock-on. There's no way it would be a knock-on. But because we slow it down, we look at it over and over. And look, maybe we as fans are guilty of putting so much pressure on the video ref that they make these decisions. But look, do I think it was a disgraceful call? No. I can understand the argument that you could say if the Manly's hand wasn't there, maybe he drops it. But I still think it was a try. What do you reckon, Timmy?
Yeah, I was probably leaning towards try, but again, not overly critical of it, mate. It could have gone either way, and there'd be some filthy Knights fans, understandably, but I wasn't too filthy about it.
Yeah, they're the ones that it's like, they're not obvious. The answer isn't clear. They can go either way. It's the ones that are like crazy obvious where you're like, what the hell? What do you got there?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought it was definitely no try. He let it go. I know, like, everyone wants, like, you may have dropped it for a second. I just looked at it and he dropped it for a millisecond and the Manly hand was there. It's a clear cut for me. I didn't really understand all the blobs about it. I thought it was pretty clear cut.
Yeah, 50-50 for me. 50-50. Because, can you definitively say that he lost control? I don't know. As in, like, he knocked it on. But anyway, I don't think it's the reason. Like, the Knights had the opportunity to win that game. But yeah, okay, let's talk about, or keep talking about Manly. What do you think of Manly, Timmy?
Yeah, like you said, Cam, they'd be very disappointed to let it slip. And Guru, you're right as well. The Knights had every chance to win as well, and they'd be thinking the exact same. But I think when we're sort of looking at Manly going, all right, we think they're smokies to potentially win a comp this season. Couple of injuries in there, but, relatively well full strength. I know losing a little bit in the outside backs. There's no Josh Schuster there this week, but Cooper Johns has been fantastic at every opportunity this season. So, they don't think they have any excuses to say we're missing this or missing this. I thought they would have been good enough to get away with it, Manly, but still a few question marks around them.
Yeah, I think that Seabold will take this opportunity to make sure to rein everyone into a degree and be like, boys, like, if we want to be premiership contenders, we can't be dropping games like this.
I loved during Golden Point, we see, the impact of good ball runners and big, strong carries, but Jake Trbojevic, he was shifting momentum with his D.
I know.
Whenever Knights get a bit of a roll on, he would fly in and just whack someone, send them back the other way. There'd be a slow play of the ball. Yep. The line had reset and be like, all right, Gerbo with his defence has just got us back on track.
Yep.
It was monumental.
I will say, in the end there, I did think DCE had a couple of times where he could have taken a shot at goal.
Weird, wasn't it?
I don't know why he was... I mean, I understand that the trusting in your defence and winning the field position to get a better shot, but I kind of feel like... And look, we're talking DCE. He knows rugby league better than all of us put together. But from the outside looking in, it looked like sometimes you just got to take your shots when you get them.
Yeah, I also think, though, that, if he's not feeling comfortable in that moment that he can hit it, do you risk giving away the 7-tackle set? Like, he's got a halfback on the other side of the park that can hit it from halfway. He got very close to getting it on his last kick there, Jackson. I understand where you're both coming from, but I think that DCE, if he's not feeling it's on, I back him to do what he did, to be honest with you.
Really? See, I think that, like, he may not feel like it's on, but it's still a mistake.
The only thing that made me give him credit was I was just thinking, dare I question DCE in field goal opportunities, because he's got one of the best field goal kickers of all time.
That's what was so surprising.
I know, but, like, put it this way. If everyone was you didn't know who the players were and you saw the highlights, whatever, the faces were blurred out and you didn't know who it was, you'd be like, why isn't he taking the shot there?
Yeah.
Because it's DC, I'm like, he must have had his reasoning, but they look like, I think it was 2 clear-cut shots to have a shot at it.
Yeah, and I understand maybe he didn't want to give a 7-tackle set away, but if there's any bloke that should be confident in that area, it's DCE.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with Tim, though. That's what makes me think, okay, there must have been a reason for it.
Has he come out and said anything, Matty? Like, why?
It's funny, we were having beers the other day when we were in Rockhampton, and we had a group of blokes that were sitting with us, and they were saying to us, if you last moment of the game, you have to throw the ball to a winger to score, who would it be? Blah, blah. And I remember when they said field goals, and I think we both said Ches would be right up there.
Hey, he would be right up there. I would love to know his... Because you're right, he probably had a reason. He definitely would have. But
I believe there's a bit of wind going against him when he was having those shots, but whether it was significant enough, I wasn't there.
Because it was about the 30 or 40 metre mark, wasn't it?
About 30, I thought. I thought they were very shootable.
So early on, this is Trey Evans talking. Early on, I just didn't feel like I got a clear kick into the wind, so we just played the long game. The second half of Golden Point, we got 2 opportunities. Naturally, pretty disappointed, didn't get to ice one of those moments. So yeah, basically because of the wind, he just didn't feel 100 going at it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there was a charge down that he did on Jackson Hastings where he shot out. Jacko dummied and DC sort of slipped over and he just scrambled and just put his hand on Jackson's foot.
Yeah.
It was unreal.
Was it the same? Play. Was it the same play that Lockie Croker flew out of the line as well? He had a massive one on Hastings.
This one, DC was on his own. I think that was another one. But yeah, two big effort plays there.
Yep. Now on to the Knights. Dom Young, what a return. 4 tries, looking absolutely electric. 227 metres, 47 post contact, 5 tackle breaks, 4 line breaks. But there was one play for me that stood out massively that I thought was absolutely huge, and it was a match win, a match saver at least. It's Dane Gagai's tackle at the end there, where he held Croker up like literally, we're talking 5 centimetres from the line. And I'm just like, what a big play. Like, because if, let's say Croker scores that obviously Manly win, it goes from what a gutsy effort to holy shit, we totally left that. We had that game in the bag and we let them back into it. And all of a sudden, it's panic stations again. We leaked 32 points. The week before was 36 points. I thought that was a huge play from Gagai. I think when you look at the roster, like you got Leo Thompson starting, I think he was he was getting better and better each week. You got Jack Johns at 13. Like, I thought it was a gutsy performance by the Knights. I really
Jack
did.
Johns and Matt Croker, they've both just got something about them. I don't know how you get them both into the same when they're all fully fit a week and utilise them, but I love the look of Matt Croker. I know that Jack Johns had the better game on the weekend, but Croker's just got he's got nice hands and nice timing and just everything he does.
Yeah, it's like, and he may reach his potential at Knights. I'm not saying he won't, but he's a kind of player that I feel like if you put him in with like a Craig Bellamy or a Bennett, I don't know. I agree with you. I think that Croker's got something about him that is quite unique. Like
even the way he holds the ball in 2 hands, guys just hold off him for that extra second. There's always something going on around him. I thought that Leo Thompson was unreal. I thought
he's getting better each game for sure.
Yeah, he was very good.
Because like he was an edge back row, wasn't he, when he come in, and he's been moved into the front row because they're basically so short.
His brother plays for the Crusaders, I believe, in the Super Rugby over there. Yeah, so good pedigree. I had to laugh. There was one point where Newcastle had a 20-metre tap and they threw the ball up to Hastings, who was standing the 20-metre line. He went to tap it and the ref said, no, you've still got one offside. It was Leo Thompson. He was exhausted, as you can imagine. As soon as he got back to the 20-metre line, Jackson tapped him and threw it straight at him. He got absolutely fucking pummeled. I was going, Jesus Christ.
Give him a break.
Bastard's exhausted. Give him a spell.
Hasn't Greg Marju been good for him? The few games he's played. Fuck, he's a beast.
I tell you what, if we see Marju and Dom Young on the wings for the Knights for the rest of the year and they can continue sort of the attack, they're going to be a very exciting team to watch, the Knights, because 2 of the best attacking wingers in the competition both have some absolute barriers of defensive reads in them. So there'll be high point scoring games with epic tries. Like Marju scored again an excellent try. He's had a few in the last couple of weeks. Had one of the worst misreads in defence I've ever seen in my entire life on Tui Pilotu, where he just shot out of the line. But man, they're fun. They're fun to watch.
Oh mate. Well, you look at their backline, like Lockie Miller, hitting form, getting better each week outside of like 1 or 2 errors. Dom Young, Gunn, Dan Gagai, Bradman Best, Greg Marju. Like, if we're talking about excitement machine backlines, that's an excitement machine backline. Like,
imagine if I said to you that one of your wingers had 23 runs, 234 run metres, 72 post contact. He had 2 line breaks,
7 tackle breaks,
7 tackles, and he wasn't the one that scored 4 tries.
Far out. Yeah. It's
like his stats are almost better than Dom's.
I know.
And Dom scored 3 more tries.
It's bizarre. Like, it's seriously impressive. Like, if they can just sort that, I mean, we say it every week, but we just sort that defence out. Oh. So good to watch. So good to watch. Like, outside of that, Saifidi, I thought he had a better game. I really do think that they've responded to a couple of weeks ago. I think that Adam O'Brien has just kind of just brought that fight back into their game. They look like, okay, are they going to be in the top 8? I personally don't think so, but I just like the fact that they're fighting. Like guys like Greg Marju, guys like Bradman Best, even Lockie Miller has brought like a fighting energy to them where he just like so many runs. Every run, it's like his last run, and it's just building energy for him. So, look, I think that Knights fans should be proud of that. I thought it was a gutsy draw.
Spoke about it last week with Bradman. I reckon someone's pulled him aside and had a bit of a crack at him. You look at against the Dolphins a few weeks ago. Many times he would come off his left foot and go back into traffic. Now he's just backing himself every single time. And I don't think Bradman realises how good Bradman can be just yet. I think he's still scratching the surface.
He can be the best centre in the game, literally.
By far and away. But I don't think Bradman believes that just yet.
Because he had 21 runs on the weekend, 177 metres, 64 post contact, 20 tackles.
It's a thought I've had for a long time now, and it's just been sort of crept back up watching the Knights and the way they do it, but is around goal kickers, and that it astounds me in this day and age of professional athletes that teams don't have a good goal kicker when it is so important to the team. Now, it stuns me that sides will just have like one decent goal kicker on their roster and they can't get a second or third or even fourth person capable of being a quality goal kicker at the professional level of our sport. And we always reference rugby union, how good the goal kickers there are and the depth in it. But the way that Miller and Hastings are sort of taking it from their preferred positions and it's choppy and changing, why isn't there more of it? Like, we know how right footers from the left side are so much better and the numbers better, and left foot kickers from the right side. Like, exceptions being like a Nathan Cleary or Adam Reynolds who will hit at 85% anyway. Why not have your right-footed kicker kicking from his preferred edge and then having a left-footed kicker kicking from the other side? I don't know, am I missing something? It just seems too obvious.
Well, yeah, if you're lucky enough to have a left footer that can goal kick. 100%.
But that's the point. Like, why is it I'm not saying it's an easy skill, but it's not that hard when you're training full-time that you can't have blokes kicking, and having blokes capable of just kicking from one side each and having a second decent goal kicker.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. If you can got it, use it.
Like, I don't have the numbers on me, but I'd like to see the right footers from the left side, what their percentage is across the board in the NRL to the opposite side of the field on their weaker side. Like, why not have a dominant player from both sides?
Especially if you don't have like a top tier kicker that's just you're not going to move him from whatever.
For sure. Like, so if you've got Nathan Clear or Adam Reynolds, happy days. They can do both sides. But when you've got sides who have got the kicker who kicks at early 70% or whatever, get someone from their preferential side.
Yep. So look, obviously it was a draw on paper, but I think the Knights won this battle. I really do. Manly, disappointing. They've got a better roster than that. If they want to be top 4 contenders, like they were beginning to be spoken about, not fully yet, because we know it's a long season, but last couple of weeks been a bit disappointing for the Manly Seagulls.
Who are they missing? Josh Schuster and Kohler. Is that it?
Schuster,
yeah,
Kohler.
Okay.
If you want to throw Saab in there. They'll lose Tui Pelotu, I believe, this week. So, actually, there's one fella, Guru, you know everything about him, I assume. Because they're so light on for wingers, what's his name? Raymond.
Yeah.
He's a chance to come into the Seagulls side this week.
Yeah, he's the one that dominated in the trials.
Yeah, killed in the trial. Raymond.
Vega?
Tuamalo Vega, yeah. So we could see him this week,
would that be Vanga? Vanga? Because it's like a G.
I don't know.
Asking fucking 4 Aussies.
Mate, the one that stood out for me, though, and he's got so much ability this week's.
Oh, fuck, he's silky.
I don't know what his best position is. It ain't hooker, but he handles himself well there over the last few weeks. But just having him on the field, he's so talented.
Yeah, I wonder, is he a 6? He's not going to be a 1.
I don't think he'll be a 1, but I'm not convinced he's a 6, but I think he's too good to be a centre. I don't know.
Will he play that Dylan Walker role, you reckon, that was playing for him?
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I think he'll grow into a starter for sure, because you're right. Every time he gets a ball, something's happening around him, or it just looks dangerous.
182 centimetres, 90 kilos, 21 years old, yeah.
So you're probably going to be either a half or
the Wallabies very keen on him.
Oh, really?
Apparently,
I can see that. Now, store shout-outs in Queensland. The Woods Bar in Mitchelton. Great Western in Rock Vegas. Oxley Golf Club, Oxley, the Normanby Hotel, the Great Normanby Hotel, Star Warehouse, Runcorn, Full Moon Liquor Barn, Sandgate, Aussie World Celebration Superstore, Red Beret Hotel Cairns, all bottle marts in Port Douglas associated with the Central Hotel. So that is all bottle marts in Port Douglas associated with the Central Hotel. And all celebrations in Townsville as part of the Lily White Group. So get in there, grab your case of Bloke and a Bar beer or your Bloke Midi and enjoy the best beer in all the land. Now, Dragons defeat the Dolphins 38-12. It's funny, Wayne Bennett came out after this and said, a lot of you have been waiting for this to happen to us kind of thing. I think it just got to a point where, look, the Dragons were definitely looking to bounce back and looked much better. But also I think the Dolphins just decimated by injury. Like, new club plus decimated by injury. Even though it's 38 points, again, because they're a new club, because they've had so many injuries, I still thought what I liked about their performances is they still did all the little things that, 85% completion rate. Where is it? Oh, my God. There. So they had 3 line breaks. Where's their missed tackles? My God. Anyway, can't find the missed tackle for some reason. But like the high completion rate, even though the score was a bit of a blowout, it did seem to me that they still fought all the way till the end, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it wasn't the best performance by the Dolphins, but
39 missed tackles.
39. I didn't watch that game and go, the Dolphins have given up, even though the Dragons, ran over them in the end. But let's talk about the Dragons. What an important win for the club. What an important win. They needed it. They needed the confidence. Ben Hunt, I thought, was really good on the weekend. I thought Sloan had some good moments. Was it Sloan when he made that break against Hamiso? How good was that to see?
Lightning.
Far out. And
so good when you get those individual moments in rugby league where you just get 2 speedsters.
Just going.
They're the only one going at that pace on the field. It's the best.
And I just love how they both would have grown up where they're the fastest on the field at all times. So Sloan's confidence to just go, I'm gapping it. Because I have never lost a race where I have gapped it. And Hamiso going, I have never been outrun. And Hamiso, they basically got there at the same time. So fucking cool to see.
Did you ever have a moment like that in your career?
Yeah, but
it's got into space against.
Yeah, 100%. So there was this winger from the Cowboys. It's actually, I'd love to watch it again because so basically what happened was, and it wasn't even a knock on, but so at Suncorp, this is 2008. I think it was my first game back into the side. There was a winger. I forgot his name, but apparently he'd once stayed and he was the fastest in this, that, and the next thing. There's a drop ball. I scooped it up and it was just me and him running for the try line, and I beat him. But the problem is it got called back for a knock-on. So it's not on, those plays just get forgotten about.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a knock-on, which pisses me off. But yeah, that was my time where I was like a genuine foot race against a guy that had been talking up as the fastest guy in history. But yeah. Yeah, look, great win for the Dragons. Exactly what they needed. Bit of confidence.
Got the name, but I don't remember him. Was it Obi Gia?
Yeah, Obi Guy or something like that.
Guy, yeah.
Yeah. Is it got it up there?
Yeah, Geia. His name wasn't it? He played 2 games.
Yeah, he's apparently lightning quick. And yeah.
Obi.
So what do you guys reckon of the Dragons?
Mate, Ben Hunt. I feel like I say it every week, but I was having a conversation with a mate on the weekend and we were saying if you took Ben Hunt out of the Dragons team and you put him into any other team in the competition, whether it be halfback, hooker, 5'8", every single team in the comp has a player in one of those 3 spots that isn't as good as Ben Hunt. If you were to shove him into just about any team, they become a top 8 side, I think. If you just give him someone else to work with, they're a top 8 team, I think. He's unbelievable what he does and how he does it week in, week out. Yeah. That try that he scored where he didn't even do anything. He just looked up and just said, oh, they're on the back foot here. I'm just going to fucking score.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest, I'm not the strongest, I'm close to the strongest, but I'm just going to go. Imagine how many halfbacks would be able to see that but just wouldn't have the confidence to just go, I'm just going to go at it and I know I'm going to score.
Yeah, absolutely. We speak about it ad nauseum, but what an incredible turnaround for a guy that was hounded. You are not worth $1 million. Way overpaid. Gosh. I'm sure a few years ago, if they had done a poll on who's the most overpaid player, he would have won it hands down from the fans. Now, you can't find a more loved bloke. You can't find a more loved bloke. What do you reckon, Timmy, about the Dragons?
Yeah, really, really good bounce back performance. As you said, Kemp was at a point last week after 2 tough enough losses that another one on top of it at home would have been very concerning. Where do you come back from it? And look, they stood up, dominant win, really impressive. They looked slick. I said, the challenge now is can they back it up? But ticked about every box that you could ask for them on the weekend.
Yeah, agreed. I love Sully's, I guess, almost like a response to the whole drama during the week where he misspoke and basically said, everyone knows what it was. So he came out, he had 17 runs for 198 metres, 66 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 12 tackles, 0 misses. So he's back to his barnstorming best. Ravalawa, 2 tries. The one, man, I felt sorry for Bostock. Jeez, they hunted Bostock.
Oh, poor
Jeez Louise. Did Anthony Griffin put a picture of Bostock on all their lockers and say, kill the bloke?
Isn't it crazy with him? I've watched him play junior footy in his age, and we watched him play in that trial and started the year, and we just thought, fuck, how good does he look in this trial? But then you get to the NRL, and he just looked like a teenager again, didn't he?
Yeah.
His body just looks so much, compared to when you get out in the real NRL and everything, it is wild. I thought he did well because
I thought he did fantastic. So many players would have gone to water and gone to hiding with the amount he just kept turning up. And that's why I think that he's got a long career ahead of him. Far out, he reminds me of Campbell Graham.
Yeah.
So much, man. So much. That's a great shout, Guru. Now, I want to give a Blake Laurie, man. Sometimes there's certain players that you give them a long contract and it hurts their performance because they get comfortable. And there's certain players that if you give them a long contract, it gives them confidence. And like Blake Laurie, ever since signing that longer deal, he's been easily their best forward, week in, week out. And, he's played so well that even Dragons fans who used to joke about the fact that he was just an up and down front rower and, compare him to other front rowers, is he as, razzle dazzle or whatever. But I think you'd be hard pressed to find many Dragons fans that have watched him this year and aren't happy with him compared to other front rowers. Now, I'm not especially compared to the pay he's on. He's not going to be on the same pay as the top tier front rowers, but fuck, he's been doing a job.
Does a job every week.
Every week. Now got another meaty as well. Floodgates have opened, the big fella. I think Little at 9 as well. Been good.
He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a guy that you mentioned there before, Ravalawa. He hasn't taken all that many more hit-ups than Sivo so far this year, but you have a look at him. He's averaging 5 or 6 tackle breaks per game.
Yeah.
The way that he just takes it on, you can see he is going 100% every single one of them.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. And they're very similar body shapes, huge wingers, super strong. I think they're looking to extend him. One little side note, Josh Kerr, there's a bit of whispers that Dolphins might be interested. I think he would kill it at the Dolphins under Wayne.
So I've been rapping him since the preseason. Came out again 29 minutes for 107 metres, and I was chatting to a mate of mine, Nick Campton, works over as a journo over the ABC, really good journalist. And I was talking about him Saturday night, saying, I thought he's been terrific this year in very limited minutes. And he was saying, I wasn't aware, but he was a part of the 2020 Origin camp with the Maroons. Didn't play a game. But after it all finished up, they have their sort of in-house awards and that, and one of them was the
Queensland Spirit.
The Peter Jackson Queensland Spirit Award. And it went to Josh Kerr. And Bennett just came and said, look, he's been such an enormous part of this camp, didn't get on the field, but, they're in the bubble at the end of the season, and to keep the spirits up of the players and just his attitude to training every day was unreal. And I was like, well, geez, that kind of adds up. I think he's been fantastic. I think if the Dolphins were to nab him and get some more minutes under his belt, I think he'd be a great signing.
And if Kerr gets that phone call, I think he should go in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. If he's gotten a phone call to go to Dolphins, he would kill it. Yep. He's a big, big human. I do think that I wonder whether he's going to get the best out of himself at the Dragons. There's no knock on, certain players suit certain systems. Look, we just talked about how incredible Ben Hunt's been. You got to give Dragons credit for that. Dragons have provided an environment for Ben Hunt to be his best. I think Josh Kerr, he's probably going to do better somewhere else. Now that could change. That could change in the future. But if there is any validity to Dolphins coming after him, mate, I reckon take it.
I think the other one we heard too, I think Wayne had a quote during the week talking about how he's got such a good relationship with Jaden Sewer as well.
Yes, actually. That's
another one I think that if that opportunity was to present itself and I was Sewer, I'd take it.
Yeah. It's interesting because Sewer kind of came out and said, no, I'm happy here. I've got a contract or whatever. I just want to play consistent footy. But, I did see an article as well this week that the Dragons are considering a massive clean out because they only have... Could you look for the article? I'm pretty sure like 20 of their top 30 squad is coming off contract essentially 2024.
There's like Zach Lomax and a handful of others.
Zach Lomax and Ben Hunt plus Laurie are the only ones that are on longer term, I'm pretty sure. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the Dragons do in regards to recruitment because... As the Dolphins proved, it's tough to recruit, and they had Wayne Bennett plus massive salary cap.
So I've got the whole squad in front of me with all their years, and I'll list all the players. So there's 30. I'll list the players contracted 25 and beyond. Ben Hunt, Blake Laurie, Jack Bird has a mutual option, Jaden Sullivan, Viliami Fafita, and Zach Lomax. Everyone else is 24 or below. Earlier, sorry.
Wow. So I guess... Is the writing on the wall for the Hook then? Because like, what are they going to be willing to do a whole rebuild again under Hook?
Surely not. Surely they can't do another rebuild under Hook.
Yeah, it's interesting. Anyway, let's focus on the positives because they got a win. Great win. Really, really good win for the Dragons. Exactly what you want. A bounce back game, and they can build off that. Keep working on what they're doing, and anything else on the Dragons, boys?
No, that covers it.
Now, Dolphins. Look, we'll go to positives first. Jermaine Asako. For a guy that, for me, just too inconsistent in first grade.
He's made one error in 3 weeks.
I know. Yes, he has been so good this year. And I'll be honest, each week I'm waiting for the game where you go, oh, my God, bro. But he's killing it. He's absolutely killing it. On the weekend, a try assist. 197 metres from 15 runs, 7 tackle breaks, 3 line breaks. This is in a team that got towed up. What a game from Asako. What a game. And, maybe it's the Wayne Bennett factor, just getting the best. Because, he played his best footy under Wayne Bennett.
Yep.
And then ever since then, he's kind of struggled for consistency.
And they needed every one of those metres. Brenko was the second highest running player with 106. Tommy Gill was the only forward who ran for over 100 with 103. So 197 metres in a tough outing, that's a big performance.
And if you have a look at Asako in the first 2 weeks, he made 5 errors. In the next 3, he's made 1.
Yeah.
So it's obviously something that Wayne has put him on and said we need to improve. Because outside of his errors, he's a good footballer. He's got upside in him. He's got ability.
Yeah.
It's just that he constantly has these little brain explosions and these little things that go wrong. And it's like... It wasn't a Titans thing. It wasn't a Broncos thing. It was an Asako thing for so long. And
he's so talented.
So talented.
Super,
He's
explosive.
Annoyingly talented.
Yeah, and you're just you should be playing first grade week in, week out. So really good to see Asako play as well as he did. There's not much really to talk about here because of the amount of injuries. I will say Anthony Milford, soft tissue injury, it's not look, could he in that moment have stopped the soft tissue injury? No. But I guess it is a concern that just could he be fitter and would that avoid the injuries? Because now the Dolphins are in a fucking bind.
Yeah.
They've got Isaiah Katoa and then who?
Probably Cody Nikorima.
Yeah, Cody Nikorima. And Nikorima, they tried to make it work at the Broncos in the halves, didn't really work. He's more of an impact player at 14, in my opinion, now. Basically, the whole side rests on Katoa now. Not even a argument. It's Katoa. Do you put him at 7 and say, mate, you're the 7 now?
Without a doubt. What else are you going to do?
Maybe you go experience and you get the Nikorima in there. Nikorima in there.
I really don't like him as a ball player, to be honest with you. But I guess I've got no other choice, do they?
That's what I mean. You either
can't move Jeremy Marshall-King either. I think he's too good at 9 to be able to move him around. So you literally have no other ball players in the side.
You just play him, stick to your traditional. I always go on about how I want my halves linking up and sort of doing, particularly 5'8", playing both sides. And this is what Wayne Bennett will do perfectly. He'll simplify the game for them. He'll come in and probably just say, look, you play an edge each. Don't worry about moving about too much. You control your edges each. You'll see Jeremy Marshall-King play a really big hand in this. He'll become integral to all their attacking structures. He will need to overplay his hand. He'll probably start kicking a little bit more as well.
Yeah.
Wayne will simplify the game plan.
Which is interesting because it's so anti-Wayne to run through your hooker. He never has. Like all of his hookers have he's always sort of taken the piss out of the hooker position, realistically. It's been make your tackles, pass off the deck. That's all I need. Yeah. Whereas now he's got to play to the strengths of this team with JMK. And, you know, we've been speaking about this for a few weeks now that, you know, they've come into this comp. They've done incredibly well. It's been very impressive. But it's a 27-week comp. You're going to have injuries. Their depth isn't fantastic. The next few weeks is going to really test the Dolphins.
Did you think they'd have this many injuries all at once, though? Like, this is pretty this is pretty unlucky.
100%, yeah, for sure. But it's like,
for example, they've got probably as many injuries as, say, a Storm. And we're saying about the Storm, like, their injury crisis, essentially.
There's a lot of clubs out there copping some pretty bad injury hits week in, week out at the moment. Though, like, certainly not good for the Dolphins, but you know, it's their next challenge in the NRL, isn't it? The hype's worn off of the early season. They've got up for games. You can absolutely forgive them for the game on the weekend that they were so good over the first month that, all right, you have your down week from time to time, but and how do they respond with a few injuries under the belt?
See, I think that, like, let's say Milford stayed on the field and he didn't get injured, like, you could say that's the normal amount of injuries. I think they've been hit with, like, an unlucky amount of injuries, just like the Storm have been.
Doggies been smashed.
Doggies have been smashed.
Titans got
Whereas, like, I think that if you were to go into a season, you'd say you wouldn't expect this amount of injuries this quickly and go, well, like, for example, going to the season, every club goes, we understand there's going to be an amount this. They would have data. Like, they'll just throw a random number, 20 injuries in the season or whatever. I think that, like, there's a few clubs at the moment, like probably 3, that have been really unlucky with injuries, and the Dolphins have just fallen into it.
Who have they lost? They've lost Sean O'Sullivan, Milford.
And Kafusi suspension.
He's back this week or next week, the week after, whatever.
Round 8, yeah.
Round 8, sweet. So they've lost.
Cody Nikarima was injured, but he's back.
And then Bostock come on the wing. So who was on the wing?
Tessie News
injured.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair whack.
Yeah.
It's a fair whack.
It's a fair whack when you're starting a new franchise, but
also, their reserve 9 got injured as well. The young fella.
Donahue. Is he injured? Is he?
Yeah, he got taken off in the game last week. They were down to their, like, fucking, because then Cody Nikarima came in, then Ray Stone had to play 9. So they're getting fucking smashed.
But yeah, like, they play the Cowboys this week in North Queensland. They then play South Sydney to the Titans. So this is where I just hope that one loss doesn't turn into 2, turn into 3, and then it starts to snowball. Because unlucky with injuries, whatever it might be, it's happened. They have to deal with it now, and I just hope it doesn't snowball into.
Is anyone down to their 3rd string 7? Is any club down to their 3rd string 7?
Probably not, but, like, Canberra's missing an entire forward pack.
The Durs.
Yeah, they're unlucky. Like, I'm throwing them in the super unlucky.
Yeah,
the Raids is an injury crisis. Chuck White suspended.
You're missing bloody fullback, cunt.
No. It's a crisis. No, you said in the halves. So you said 3rd string halfback.
Yeah.
We've lost 5'8", but Jackie White suspended. Matt Frawley, broken hand, gone. Brad Schneider's in this week. We'll get through it, Bowie. No excuses down south. We'll have Big Red Corey Hawes for playing in the halves next week.
Oh, fuck, how good. Yeah, look, I think they're going to be good, fine. I don't think they're, like, I still don't put them in the 8, but I think they'll be competitive. I think there's no Wayne Bennett side that isn't be competitive. Look, if they get a couple more injuries, like, for example, if they go now and lose bloody Jesse Bromwich and, you know, Tommy Gilbert, then it's like, oh, shit, like, it genuinely is a fucking disaster. I think they'll be okay, though. I really do. But this could be the making of a superstar, Katoa.
Yeah.
If I'm Wayne, I just go, you know what, Katoa, it's your team. The reserve grade comp that you won, because he won the reserve grade comp last year at 7. And he was 7?
Yeah, SG Ball and New South Wales.
I just say to him, mate, do exactly what you did. by winning the Jersey Flag and New South Wales Cup.
And
So,
that's the really exciting thing. It could be, because Isaiah's got the potential to lead a side around. It's going to be tough. He's
Yep.
very raw, but he's got upside to be able to do a job. If just Dolphins just do what they've done in the first 3 weeks and everyone else just plays their role.
yeah. Now on to the mighty Brisbane Broncos defeating the Tigers 46-12. Now I was concerned going into this game because I was like, the Broncos, although they've been getting wins, they haven't actually played, good 80 minutes, high completion rate footy. So I don't know whether this was Broncos just fucking unbelievable or Tigers, not that great. I think it's a mixture of both. I will say, when you look at those Broncos boys putting it together, there's no better sight in the NRL. I think their forward pack is one of the most explosive young forward packs I personally have ever seen. Like the Flegler, Carrigan, Haas 3 is insane. When they get on a roll, they're unstoppable. And as I said, with Carrigan ball playing around the ruck, the stuff that Payne Haas does is just, we've never seen it before. Now look, nitpick, you could go and you could look at the completion of the Broncos and whatever, but at the end of the day, they turned up and absolutely dosed a Tigers side. The Tigers, honestly, from set one, didn't look like it. Honestly looked like a reserve grade side versus a first grade side, and that's the Tigers are not a reserve grade side. They have Dally M back rowers, gun back rowers. They've got gun players in there, but the Broncos just looked like too big, too fast, too strong.
They were never in it. They were never even close to being in it, the Tigers. And as you said, mate, that Brisbane forward pack, they're so good to watch. And the beauty of it is that you get a guy like Pat Carrigan who's got young legs, but God, he's got an old head on his shoulders.
Massively.
And if you were to look at this team just on paper, looking at their forward pack, you would say, other than Kurt Capel, they don't have that older front row forward to really dictate terms and whatnot. But Paddy Carrigan does it. You've got the genetic freak in Payne Haas who you just... How do you defend this bloke?
Literally.
He had an offload, went to the ground, got up, went to dummy half on the next play. Adam Reynolds just screamed the ball and he just looked up. Tigers weren't even in disarray. They were set. He took on 6 dudes. They didn't stand a chance.
And he just went, boss, try.
And I thought it was the wrong choice to run. I thought he should have gone to Adam Reynolds, but because he is so big and so strong and he knew there was just nothing for him, he just went, I'll just do it.
Yeah, anyone else does that, they probably... Maybe only Taumalolo is the only other guy that could do that.
If he doesn't score, he gets roasted. It's like, what are you doing, mate? Give Reynolds the ball. But it's like, nah, I'll bat myself.
Unbelievable. And I think it's really good example of giving Payne a little bit less minutes than they were doing a few years ago. Like when Seawell was playing him 70, 80 minutes. I understand you're trying to win footy matches, but we're getting not only all the hard work from Payne Haas, but we're getting these big plays like this because he's fresh.
To be honest, I was surprised they put him back on. I imagine that would have been Payne on the sideline, ready to kill someone if he didn't get back on the field. But even to put him on for the last 15 minutes, he won this game in 30 minutes from the front row.
Craziness.
They just didn't stand a chance. It was, I thought, obviously, Reece Walsh, you mentioned him in Team of the Week, he's just on another level at the moment. The pace that he gets, just those 6 steps after he gets the ball, no one can get in his postcode.
It's like it's because it's coming.
You know exactly what's coming.
But it's just every time he just gets on the outside.
They're not throwing any variety at you. You just can't stop it.
Yeah, it's you'd even argue that probably the Sharkies at the moment, their set play is so fluid. You've got Nikora hitting crazy lines. You could argue the Broncos, their set players are solid. They're not crazy giving Reece Walsh this crazy space. It's Reece Walsh just creating the space.
They're all getting to know each other still. Well, the Sharkies have been together for an entire year, though, that spine and the entire back line, whereas, Corey Oates is out, Arthurs has come in, Reece Walsh is new to the club. What they've managed to do in such a short amount of time has been incredible. And we could sit here and wrap the Broncos all day. We know they're capable of doing this. It's just about doing it for the entire year. And that's what stood out to me in the press conference when what Walter sort of said, we're taking it 1 month at a time. They're breaking the season down into 5 and 6 weeks, having certain goals for each 5 and 6 weeks. I like that approach. I haven't been in an NRL system, so no idea if it'll work or whatever, but I like that at least they've got some sort of way to try and overcome what occurred last year.
Yeah.
That's where it can be you speak about Reece Walsh gets an inch, takes a mile because he's too quick for him. Too skillful for them. Like, mentioned with the Roosters, where they've gone back to a pretty simple style of footy. When I say gone back to a simple style of footy, they showed a bit of it on the weekend. But the Broncos, there's nothing outside the ordinary, outside the square thinking in the way that their style is. You know, they have block runners out the back, and they're just backing their talent. They're backing Walsh to be too slick for them. They're backing the talent of Jesse Arthurs and Selwyn Cobbo to be able to finish. They're backing, you know, Reece Walsh to get that 3-on-2 right every time, which he does. It's a simple style of play, but they know they're going to win the middle every week as it stands because of the blokes you just mentioned, the big three. They're winning the middle every time. So it's simple, it's high percentage, and it's winning games.
It's fucking so impressive. And you're right, they almost like, we just think we're better than you. Like, it's, to be honest, it's a lot like the old school Broncos of, we don't have any like difference of crazy tactic or whatever. We're just going to outplay you because we're so fucking talented.
And I think nowadays you hear the word arrogance and everyone goes, oh, fucking no. But that's what the Broncos were back in the day. They were arrogant. They knew they were better than you, and they'd give it to you.
They give it to you every week.
Yeah.
And it's like, you watch these Broncos, like, for example, before that Dolphins game, there were multiple young Broncos doing this is our house ones. And it's, you know, it reminds me a lot of the Penrith Panthers on their rise and the come up. Now, you know, they're worlds, universes away for achieving what the Penrith Panthers did. But, I mean, Broncos are doing this. This is the first time since 1998 they've gone 5 on the trot to open the season. You know, Billy Walters is a makeshift 9. Corey Pakes, also a makeshift 9. You know, Corey Jensen, a solid player at other clubs. If he wasn't in the 17 at other clubs, no one would have an issue with it. He's been outstanding. Tapoa, is that how you say it now? Tapoa? Marty Tapoa. He's been really good since arriving.
God, he's been a good signing. Just a solid signing. He's played 25 minutes, but they've been a good 25 minutes every single week.
And I was a bit concerned, like, with the signing. I was like, oh, how's he going to fit that young forward pack? Is he going to demand too many minutes or too much ball? But he's played his role perfectly.
I was heaps concerned with that signing.
Kempy, Penrith have shown that arrogance is fine if arrogance doesn't lead to complacency on the field. So what Brisbane are doing now, and you know, you might be undefeated and might be going out thinking we can beat people, that's fine. But what Penrith do is they stick to their structures. They stick to a pretty simple game plan. Now, off the back of this arrogance, you don't want Reece Walsh to start to chip chase on his own 40 because he's like, we're mad and we're pulling everything off, and that's where shit hits the fan.
Yeah, and that's what I've been speaking about last few weeks with Broncos, is there is a danger of that happening. It's young, you know, we're in Brisbane Broncos are the biggest club in the comp in regards to fans and the money they make, so it's very easy for it to all get to your head. But at the moment, they just seem like a young team that's hyper confident and just love the battle. They're like, that's I think the difference between maybe them and a few years ago. They were still a young gun side a few years ago, but they didn't love the battle. Whereas I feel like this Broncos side, they're embracing it. Like, they're like, we want the rough stuff. We want to go toe to toe. I want to give a shout out to my boy Jordan Ricky. I said a few weeks ago, if he keeps just playing the way he is, the big game will come. The big game with the big stats on the big stage. And I thought that he got this perfect opportunity on the weekend to play and just get the recognition that you sometimes need as a young player. He was outstanding, 2 tries. And, you look at his stats and they don't blow you out of the water, but it's the way he's playing. Hyper-aggressive, in-your-face rugby league, another game, no errors. Like, it's just fantastic to watch. It's bizarre. This is how well the Broncos are going. Selwyn Cobbo is sitting on the wing, doing his thing, and he has these moments that are great where he picks up the ball, he does an intercept. But they're not relying on Selwyn Cobbo to win in the matches, which is, Broncos a few years ago, they need someone like Selwyn Cobbo to win matches.
Well, you're not relying on anyone, are you?
Literally no one. The only player that's like, you probably say Adam Reynolds and Payne Haas and Carrigan. Payne Haas, Carrigan, and Reynolds are probably like the 3 main guys that maybe Reece Walsh you could throw in there.
But like if 2 of them were to be quiet,
the other guys will pick up slack.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
For sure. It is really, so impressive. I'm so happy for the boys. I will say, if they still aren't at if they want to win the comp, they've still got a little bit more they need to sort out. It really should have been, and, I say this respectfully, it really should have been 60 points to 12 because they bombed a few, like Ezra Mam. There's a few times, and when we talk about just being a little bit patient, there was a few sets where it was like, boys, you don't need to score on every set. Don't have to do the offload. A few errors from Ezra Mam. I will say also, I'm not sure what's going on with Palacio. I love him as a player, and he signed with the Titans and got so much potential, but he just had quite a few errors creeping into his game when he comes on the field. And when you've got such a good rotation in Flegler, Haas, Jensen, and Tapua, Marty Tapua, you don't want to let down that rotation by coming on and making errors. So hopefully he can sort that out. And I still do think that if they want to go against the Giants, they definitely have to just clean up some of that, the idea that they need to score every single set.
Yeah, and I mean, in a weird way, because you've got such a young squad, it's almost a good thing that you're not perfect. I think you want to have something to aim for, something that you still want to clean up every single week, because I think that's where, if you win the 60-0, that's where the complacency could start to come in. At least Walters can sit there and go, hey, this is what went wrong here. I thought it was really interesting, Cooper Cronk after the game, all rapping Reece Walsh, blah, blah, blah. And he brought up a moment that I didn't even remember from the game, and he just focused on it being an error that Reece Walsh made and just said, I'd be saying, this is why you're not playing Origin.
I know exactly what error it was. It was on the try line. You could see, so they made a tackle, him and Catewell. They made a tackle, and you could see Reece Walsh got up, and his whole body language was lackadaisy, and they just dove over from the. They just scooted over, and it's the second time he's done something like that, and that's the young stuff. Like Reece Walsh right now, form wise, you're as good as Tedesco, form wise. But that's what separates Tedesco from you right now. Tedesco would never let that happen. Now, granted, Tedesco's, 29, 28 or whatever. Reece Walsh is still young. But you're right. Cooper Cronk's, when it comes to Origin, you can't have that moment. Yeah. You cannot have that moment. And so that's being super nitpicky. I think the reason why Cooper Cronk is saying that as well is because Cooper Cronk does see him as a top tier fullback. If he didn't think Reece Walsh was a top tier fullback, Cooper Cronk wouldn't have even mentioned that. Because even when they made the tackle, Kurt Capewell immediately started yelling at Reece Walsh like, fucking be ready on the try line or whatever. So that's the really, no player is perfect, especially when they're younger. That's really the only downside to Reece Walsh, because everything else is unbelievable. And it's only a downside because he's young. Yeah. These are the things you learn as an NRL player of never switching off, whatever. Far out. Hasn't he just breathed life into the side? It just shows you, if you don't have a top tier fullback, you just can't win a comp. How? When you're going up against teams with Reece Walsh or Dylan Edwards or Tedesco or Tom Trbojevic or Latrell Mitchell, how do you beat that when you've got a fullback that is solid? You just can't.
Unbelievable.
Herbie, good again. Katoni Staggs, obviously great again, I thought.
You know what, just on top of that point as well, you need a good fullback. And realistically, I think in the modern game, you need one or two other guys who could be gun fullbacks playing somewhere else.
Yeah. For sure. And back to Reece Walsh, to his credit though, he came to the club and all the Broncos said, you need to work on your defence. He's worked massively on his defence. So it's not like he's not trying to learn. Very easy for him to go, you know what, okay, I might let in a trial, but I'll give you fucking 4 of them. So I love what Reece Walsh has done this year. He deserves everything coming his way.
So good to watch.
Oh, man.
I get a rare thing. I get so hyped to watch the Broncos because I'm just watching Reece Walsh. It's like the old poetry in motion saying at times, isn't it? He's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is. Ways. And every time he gets the ball and you're like, oh, nothing's on here. They got the numbers. They're all sorted. And then just boom.
Skins them.
Yep. Just skins them every time. So really exciting with the Broncos. So happy for the boys. It's all just about staying. There's nothing wrong with being arrogant in your ability, but always understand you have to stick to the processes that got you that achievement. Because if you don't, you will get absolutely dosed by the top teams. When they come up against the Panthers again, do you reckon they're going to let Broncos get away with that? No way.
Chance.
No way. So really exciting times. The boys, the positive thing is there's so much more in their game that I reckon we're going to see. Now, let's get to the West Tigers. Really disappointing, man. Look, the thing is you watch some of their forwards and individually they're having a crack, but just as a team, I just think they need to. We say it every single week, but their spine at the moment, it's just not at the level it needs to be at, and everything else outside of that, they just don't seem to have the direction. Like I said it to in a message. I said, like, they're coming out of their end, and Adam Dewey's in there ball playing, coming out of their own end, and I'm like, why does it take Adam Dewey to come in and do that? Like, he's at fullback. Why is your fullback steering around the park? Should it not be your ball playing 6 and 7? Should be your 7. Steering your big boys around the park, and I just think they've just got no direction. So you get a lot of effort from guys like Bateman, from Papali'i, from Clemmer, Pole, Twal, but they've got no one steering the ship, unfortunately.
And they've got no one to replace those guys either. Like Al Jackson, like Al Jock Matt. Like, I can understand, like, I think it's crazy letting go of Hastings, but if you think Brooks is your guy, sure, but then keep Jock Madden, keep the guy you've been working on. It's bizarre. Mate, the performance was annoying, but I thought the press conference after infuriated me.
When he said, hopefully we win the bye.
Fuck me. There are people out there that are putting all their money into this club to have memberships and to support all the shit you put them through. And he has a giggle about hoping to beat the bye.
Yeah, not bit of a misstep, a misstep.
It's a huge misstep.
You know, unfortunately, he's just not realised that, just not the time to joke.
No.
You know, you could understand if they
People are laughing at you, not with you.
Like, if they had a great year last year and they just had a slow start to this season, you could understand the joke. But, mate, I think it's the first time in the modern era that a team's gone 0-5 2 years in a row.
Yep.
And I don't hate to say it, but I've been saying this for a few years at the Tigers now. Yes, okay, the players, they go out there and they're the ones that they play 80 minutes and they have to be responsible for their performances, for sure. But it's not the roster guys. We've been through multiple rosters at the Tigers. We've been through multiple coaches at the Tigers. It's all the way from the top down. Things need to change.
It's not even the modern era. It's since 1968.
Oh my God. I mean, you've got guys like Api Coruscant. Look, he looks average. Api Coruscant, premiership winner. He changed the whole Panthers, a huge reason for the Panthers' change. When he was at Manly, they nearly went to a grand final, got to a prelim. Wins a comp at Rabbitohs. Papali'i, like, when you look at the stats, you go, oh, okay, yeah, he got through a bunch of work. But I have barely noticed Papali'i this year.
Possibly the best back row of the last 2 years, would you say is the number one? Probably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is absolutely mind-boggling what's happening at the moment. And it's like, is Adam Dewey... So now you've made the decision that Adam Dewey's the long-term fullback? What?
Dewey was unreal at 5'8" and has been unreal at 5'8". Like, why move him? I don't see what that achieved. Like, I thought Dane Laurie was going all right. Like,
Dane Laurie wasn't playing bad at all. He was having a dig.
Yeah.
Like, the one thing you cannot say about Dane Laurie, he has a dig every game. Every game.
I thought, Laurie at 1, Dewey at 6 was like, all right, we can persist with this. That's not your issue.
100% wasn't their issue. So I'm sorry, Tigers fan. We'll try not to... We're in it with you. I want Tigers to go well. Like, I'm in it with you. What do you reckon, Guru?
I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. You have a look to last year, they started 0-5. What was it? The first team since 1968 to do it. They won in round 6 and round 7. You know why they won in round 6 and round 7? They changed their halfback. Put Hastings into 7 those 2 games. Won those 2 games. Let him go. Let Jock Madden go. At some point, they've got to look in the mirror and stop blaming the players.
They've got to stop blaming
If it doesn't work this year, what's going to improve this system? I said it a few weeks ago and I stand by it. If I'm Benji, I'm going, sorry guys, not for me. Benji's never coached a game of football in his life and they're going to hand him this? Tim Sheens has coached 1,000 of them. He can't get anything out of them.
Mate, honestly.
And, I saw the photo you pointed out to me yesterday of the CEO on the field before the game and just don't do it though. You're a club that everyone's waiting to beat the living crap out of you. Do the little things right.
Yeah, it's a good point, Guru. It's like, it's the little things. That's what they're missing.
The tiniest little things. Has Politis got his tracksuit on kicking a ball around before the game? That a really good sign of a CEO is when you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
He is the second most well-known CEO in the game after Politis, and Politis is well-known because he's fucking successful.
Yeah. And I didn't even think Politis is the CEO.
He's not, is he?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
sweet.
You don't even know who the Roosters CEO is, which is furthers your point.
Even more to my point.
Yeah, furthers your point. Timmy, what do you reckon?
Yeah, mate. It's hard to talk about them each week because
You don't want to be too negative.
Yeah, it's hard to keep saying the same sort of things over again. I want to sit here and talk about Luke Brooks and why he should have gone to another club again and missed a sliding doors moment there to change things up and Bloke's not having a crack. I don't know. It's the same thing, Kempy, that I don't think it is individuals not having a crack. I think the players are having a crack. They're just doing it on different pages and they're not playing in unison, and that's my issue.
And that's why I'm happy to go hard on the club, because it's not the players, and it never has been the players. And you got guys that go here and they're going to want to leave in 2 years, and everyone's going to go, oh, they dogged their contract, they leave early, they're not as good as they used to be. Bullshit. Guys walk in this door and drop out of the arse of footballers. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think we've been saying it's not the players for a couple of years now, and the amount of pushback we get from people going, are you serious? They're the ones that are out there. If you guys aren't convinced yet that it is way deeper than a playing roster, this is a completely different playing roster to 5 years. There's only one or two players left from it. So Bole is the only rookie that's in this forward pack. John Bateman, Papali'i, Clemmer, Twal, Coruscant. You telling me they're not good footy players?
Such a forward pack.
They're fucking good footy players. And I'm telling you right now, every single one of them at another club that was even in the top 10 would be fucking killing it.
Even, I was like, Joe from Gowie, I thought last year was one of the shining lights. He got dropped back to Reggie's. The Maggies beat the Warriors 22-10, Western Suburbs. Big offer, went back, 26 runs, 240 metres. Not kicking up a stink, having a crack.
Yeah. And so it's even Sean Bloor off the bench, 123 metres with 12 runs, 23 tackles, only one miss, and 4 offloads. You've got talented players. Look at the Dolphins. If you looked at those two sides on paper, as I questioned to you guys before the podcast, if you wanted to see the difference between a club that is being run really well and a club that is struggling, look at the Tigers and the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I would argue the Tigers recruited better in the off-season, especially with Bateman, because when we were doing all that chat, Bateman hadn't even, I don't think he'd even landed yet. I would argue that, and look at the difference in the Bulldogs, they might be fighting around the 10th or 9th spot, maybe even 8th, in 1 year.
You know, he hasn't played well in any way, shape or form, Luke Brooks, but he's the guy that wears all of it. Luke Brooks doesn't keep picking himself. Luke Brooks doesn't keep re-signing himself. For fuck's sake.
And all our mail suggested that he was willing to bounce.
Why wouldn't he be willing to bounce?
Just sorry, Tigers fans. I feel sorry for the playing roster. I feel sorry for the fans massively. I thought Tim Sheen's legend of the game, done so much in the game, but just a little bit out of touch in regards to the joke about the bye. I know it's a small thing. It is a small thing, but when you got people working their ass off all week long, they got no spare money. It's already hard enough as it is with everything going on in the world, and you're still going up and turning up to games, and then, they're making jokes about their 5th loss in a row. It's like, come on, bro. It's just not the right time. Then you throw into the fact that their CEO's on there kicking balls and he's in the changing room on his phone. All of these things by themselves are not a big deal. They're not an issue. But when you add up the last 10 years, you go, far out. When do we start at least cleaning up all the little stuff? And then I don't know.
You look in reserve grade on the weekend, their halves there. Halfback was Cade Hill. I'm not sure who Cade Hill is. 5'8" was Will Smith. The 5'8" that they brought from Union was playing centre.
I don't know, man. I don't know. And the problem is hopefully all these boys honour their contracts and they're on a good wicket, so they want to stay. But this keeps happening. A lot of these players are going to go, I don't want to end my career like this.
Yeah, and when they do, and the Tigers will try and paint a narrative that they're getting dogged, can you blame those guys?
Look, I would always honour my contract, but I can understand them going far out. This is tough.
Yeah.
This is tough.
Blokes are willing to honour their contract there.
Mate.
Seen this before.
Look, hopefully something gets sorted. Do you think they make drastic changes? Surely changes are made, drastic changes.
Like what though? Like what do they do?
Just change shit. Just
Like for the next few weeks, or
just change shit. Like do something. Have a reaction. You know what I mean? Like bring in whoever is 7 in New South Wales Cup. Just put him in.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Send a message. Like set some. You know what I mean? Like send some messages. Pick out the guys that have been struggling for 5 games or whatever, and go boom, boom, boom. It doesn't even matter who you're getting replaced with. You're just getting replaced.
I'd go Dewey back to the halves, give him a crack with, say, Wakeham. Laurie back to fullback, give Brooksy a stint in New South Wales Cup.
Bring Joe Offer back.
Bring Joe Offer back in. I think the halves need a shake up, and that's what I said. Like I don't want to keep pointing the finger at Brooksy, but you're looking for change. I think even if it's for 2 or 3 weeks, just see how it goes.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you two saw? Have I missed something? Why Dane Laurie isn't in the side anymore?
I just don't think, because remember there were whispers that Staines was going to win that spot off him.
Yeah.
I just reckon Sheensy just doesn't rate him. That's just pure conjecture, but I reckon he just doesn't see him as a fullback.
So Dane Laurie's going to be the only player to come out of the Panthers system in the last 3 years and not do well, essentially. So what?
Well,
I didn't think
weren't they training Dane Laurie at 5'8" at stage of the preseason?
I don't know. I know that in the preseason there was whispers that Staines had the jump, and now Staines is not even at fullback.
Well, I mean, like you have a look. Like at the start of last year, they named 5 captains. One of them was Nofalumu, who's already been dropped. The other one was Ken Mamala, who they've let go.
Jeez,
Mate, it's a disaster. I feel sorry
They've got
for
good players. If they had a shit side, you go, okay, they suck because they suck. They shouldn't. They've got good players.
It's not the players. It's not the players. I know people think that, Denon, you're always biased towards the players. When I'm being biased towards the players, I'll say I'm biased towards the player. I genuinely don't think it's the players.
Use some common sense. Like the players they've got are good footballers. They have been successful elsewhere.
I know. And look how many roster changes there's been, and it's the same problem. Okay, anyway, let's get on to some good news. Before we do, let's get to store shout-outs. IGA Finley, liquor manager David is stocked up on both midi and the lager. Richie's IGA Delinquent, liquor manager Ashley is stocked up on both midi and lager. Montrose, IGA liquor manager Alan is stocked up on both midi and lager. Brawhorn Arms in Bendigo, bottle shop manager Luke is stocked up with both midi and lager. And Lurline St. Bottle O in Cranbourne, owner Andre is stocked up with both midi and lager and is running a key ring promotion. So Bloke key rings. Now, Warriors defeat the Sharks at 32-30. What an incredible game of rugby league for the Warriors. We've been speaking about it since the preseason, but look, it's still only round 5. But talk about right now, Coach of the Year is Andrew Webster. For me.
It's hard to push back on.
Bloody oath.
Yep.
Incredible. I say it each week, but he didn't recruit massive in regards to, you look at the Bulldogs, you look at the Tigers. No, he went out and got specific battlers that represent what he's all about in rugby league, and he's doing what he's doing. There is no Warriors side in recent memory that comes back from 20-0 down.
Take out Tohu Harris as well, their leader. Tomato Martin also missed this one, so they're losing their first choice 5'8", their second choice 5'8" came in. He only played 50 minutes. He was gone. You could argue he's their third choice 5'8" if Luke Metcalf's available too.
Yeah.
So they're incredible, mate. Like it's wild that they managed to get. We're at the pub and then we walked over to the stadium yesterday and we walked away thinking that game's done. Absolutely done. I couldn't see a world where they got themselves back into it. And they were only down by 14 or so when we left, I reckon. Like it wasn't a huge gap, but it's just
got to 20-0, I think, at one point. Then might have hit back from
Bunty a foul went off in the 19th minute, didn't come back.
Rout. Mate, it's so impressive. And, this is the Warriors, they've given us so much over the last few years, and I personally don't think we gave them enough back to say thank you. But I just hope the footy gods do them some favours here, give them a good injury run, and they can just keep this up because it is so impressive. Because we sat there yesterday and went in 26 went, the old Warriors are back.
Yeah.
It's done.
That's what it looked like, didn't it?
100%. Like some of the tries the Sharks scored in the first half were pretty soft, let's be honest here. They were very easy tries, and then they just completely flipped a switch, and it was great to see. And to see Sean Johnson leading it as well, so good. So good.
Against a team that he got replaced by the Dally M player, which is understandable. Nico Hines, incredible. but just to step up like that, like there's a reason why Sean Johnson, you know, he's almost a name that's larger than life. Like a lot of people wouldn't expect him at this period of his career to get out a gutsy win like that at his old club. You know, SJ a few years ago, he'd probably go a little bit quiet towards the end of the match. He took it as a challenge to say, you know what, let's do something special there. And he even said in the post-match press conference, at half-time, they were all looking at each other, guys, imagine the story if we do this. Imagine the story. Literally saying that to each other. And then they went out and did it. Amazing stuff. So good for the Warriors. And they'll take so much away from that. It'll show them that, you know what, we are a different side. We will fight in games. We're not going to go away. We're not just going to... Oh, okay, yeah, we're not getting a big head start on a team because we come out guns blazing. Absolutely amazing stuff, and it's so good for the club. And I cannot wait to see what the rest of the year happens. What happens in the rest of the year for the Warriors? What did you think, Timmy?
Yeah, isn't it such a great point, Kempy, that they've come back in basically being pretty close to what seemed to be an unwinnable position on the performance they dished out into the sort of the first half for the rest of the season. They're in a similar position. They start slow in a game. It'll happen. They're blown off the park by a good side. They'll go, we've done it before. Yep. Why can't we do it again?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, this is another side of the Warriors who injuries haven't been kind to them at all this season. They found ways to overcome it. Tohu Harris, good chance to return this week from a knee injury. Mitchie Barnett, hopefully come back as well from a neck injury. Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, I don't know if he played reserves on the weekend, but he's due back as well for his first game of the season. Whether he gets picked, I don't know. Like, Cozy's been great. Montoya's been unreal. So, starting to get troops back as well. They're, how good for rugby league. Like, everyone, there wouldn't be a person out there even slightly bitter, surely, about seeing what the Warriors are doing and what SJ is leading the charge.
It's amazing. And SJ, he played that first trial and I was like, oh, shit. SJ's in for a long year. He's going to get pizzled by the fans. It's going to be all his fault. He's been outstanding for them this year.
Fitzgibbon strolled through him really early on in round one and we were like, oh, no.
Yep. And he's been absolutely outstanding. And it shows you when you can be home with your family, have a good environment. It just shows you what you can do. It's what they've managed to achieve and what they're doing this year is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, even if everything went right for them in the previous years, you would still expect a new coach that's never been a head coach in the NRL with a bunch of new signings to struggle for the first 5 rounds. I mean, one of their only losses was against the Roosters where they could have won the game. Couple of late errors and they could have won the game. They're sitting second in the competition. It's amazing.
And in that game too, like their 80-minute back row, Jackson Ford, he got HIA in the first 2 minutes. Like, life wasn't easy there.
No.
I don't think he was the only injury that game either.
They had a few, Curran went off injured. And just how good was it to see Josh Curran score a try? I don't know what on earth is going on over there and why he can't get a gig in this footy side, but he is so talented.
I just reckon he's a victim of everyone playing so bloody well.
Depth.
Even this week with Barnett and Harris out, like he only just scraped into the bench.
18 minutes,
Yeah, I just think, well, you look at it like...
It's just the reality of their side.
Yeah, they're playing so well. Like Dylan Walker, he's got a lot of minutes. Tom Ale, I hope you're saying that right, he was great in the trials, remember him. Then you got Bailey Sirinen, who can play on an edge and is quite like utility. So I think it's just a matter of... They've just got so many players in form. Jackson Ford, outstanding. Niokore, outstanding. Tavanga. I mean, just amazing, man.
Jazz was a maniac. We were saying the other day, do you reckon Jazz stays a one club man? I reckon he will.
Yeah, I reckon he will.
I reckon he'll just you'll never have to break the bank for him. He'll always be willing to stay. He's not like he's a solid guy, but I don't think he's the sort of guy that a million other clubs are going to come at 100 miles an hour.
He is exactly what the Warriors are all about. A guy that just, you might get an incredible trial for him that you're just going, what just happened? You might get a punch on. You might get a fucking, you know what I mean? Like, he is just all what rugby league is about and what the Warriors are about. That kind of like hyper aggressive, in your face. And that's what the Warriors used to be. When they had their really strong years, it was this like, it was almost scary to play them. Yeah. And like, do you think, I think a lot of teams, when they see Tavanga with his fucking strapping his bald head across the field, they're going, fuck, this guy's going to be going all day long.
He's like that guy that, like, from the country town that plays A grade for 20 years and is just not to be fucked with ever.
Just no one fucks with him. No one fucks with him.
He doesn't play a position, he just plays footy.
Yeah, he just plays footy, absolutely. So, yeah, the Warriors just amazing. I'm really liking the progression of the outside back. Like Edward Cossey, yeah, okay, he made a few errors, but he also had some big moments as well where
His ability is insane.
It's huge. He's a big boy. You got Mulatalo in his ear. He stays composed. He stays in the game. I'm just so excited for this Warriors side. Charles Nicoll-Klokstad, just again, exactly what the Warriors need right now. They need a fullback with a ton of heart that's going to go all day long, 207 metres, 9 tackle breaks. Just exciting for the Warriors. Because, again, you still look at this roster on paper and you go, there's room for improvement here. Like, there is, if this backline, if Vale, Pompey, Cossey, if they all reach their potential in 2 to 3 years, they could be one of the most damaging backlines in the comp because they've got so much talent. Like Pompey, Vale, and Cossey, they are fucking huge. They're like, 6'3", 95 to 98 kilos. It's, exciting times.
And if one of them gets injured in the next 3 to 4 weeks, DWZ will come in. You don't lose.
Really, almost all positives on the glass half empty note. The edges were so frail in that first half.
Oh, yeah.
Which is what we saw last year when they
disconnected.
And it sort of tweaked me when you said big bodies. That's great, but we know that if you have too many big blokes at times, their mobility is not quite there. Not saying it can't be with these guys, but gee, they were leaky in that first half.
Oh, for sure.
And what the Sharks thought of them was very sleek, but did make it look easy.
They've just got to... It's just about communication and also understanding, cues. Like, they just weren't following each other in quick enough. Like, you always want, as an outside back or a winger or a centre, if they do score on the edge, it's a crazy tip on, something that's a big play. And there were plenty of times where the centre was forced to jam in and the winger would jam in just that second too late, or he wouldn't come in at all. And the good thing is those things can be fixed, but it just takes time working with your centre or winger by knowing what their cues are. Like, for example, if they had maybe more experience with the Volkman situation on Nikora, they could have been like, look, Nikora's going to hold Volkman up quite a lot, so let's just jam. Let's pre-read the game. Let's jam early and just get some defence cover across there. And if Nico Hines wants to throw that fucking 20-metre floater over the top of us and they get it, then fair play. We'll work on that. Because, the defence was really disconnected in the first half. Like, centre would jam, then the winger would stay out, the winger would jam, the centre wouldn't. So hopefully they can sort that out.
Good too. I think in about 3 weeks, Luke Metcalf's due back. I don't think he'll come straight into this side. But he could be that little bit of X factor that this team needs as the season goes on too.
It's going to be so exciting. What an incredible performance by the Warriors. What a win. And an SJ to... Oh, man, incredible. Now, did you think it was a penalty? Was it Royce Hunt that pushed in the back, or was it ULA? Pushed Josh Curran in the back, which gave Sean Johnson the penalty to win the game? It was Hunt?
I did think penalty, yeah.
Timmy, what do you think?
Yeah, I thought so. I know it's hard.
Yeah, it's hard, but you just got to... It's because your natural reaction if someone's in front of you just to put your hands on them. So I don't know how much of it was a push and how much of it was just like a natural reaction to put your hands out.
Yeah, it was Royce Hunt.
Was Royce Hunt? Yeah, look.
It's a tough one. There's no doubt.
It's a tough one. What's interesting, though, he didn't get sent for 10 to the bin. And you could argue that was a professional foul. Fucking Flanagan, the poor bloke. He wasn't even a penalty and he got sent 10 to the bin.
It's fair.
Yeah. So, just amazing. Absolutely amazing. The weather, everything. So, well done to the Warriors. Very exciting. And as I said, right now, 5 rounds in, I'd be giving Coach of the Year to Andrew Webster. I really would. What he's doing there is absolutely amazing. And this is just the beginning. So, if he can keep building these standards and everything else, very special times.
I love Sean Johnson, his interviews after the game.
Yeah,
he
so
is
good.
Just so raw. And, SJ's had his moments, especially last year where he's played really shit footy, but you could never, ever question the integrity and the sort of bloke Sean Johnson is.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
And this is just evidence number 1,000 of Sean Johnson being the great fella he is.
Yep. Now, onto the Sharkies. Oh, what a disappointing. First 40 minutes... Premiership winners. You're sitting there going, this is the slickest attack in the comp and it's not even close. Not even close. And then they just allow Warriors back into the game, and then before they knew it, they'd lost it. it's obviously not warning signs at all for the Sharkies, but it is really frustrating that they can't seem to get that 80 minutes together. Because if they played like they did in the first half and the second half, they win fucking 50-6 or 50-10. So a real lesson for the Sharkies that you may have an incredible side on paper now. You may have arguably the best 7 in the comp right now in Hines. Like form-wise, I'd put him up there with Cleary right now. But you still need to grind games out. You still need to stay in them, stay to your systems. Don't get ahead of yourself. I think it'll come together for the Sharkies, but this will be one that got away for sure.
Fitzy must be pulling his hair out. Like you go back to those prelims.
He pulled it out.
Fair point. Very good.
I thought you were taking the piss when you said it.
I was like, great joke, Guru.
Yes.
Great joke.
But conceding 32 and 38 in the prelims last year to finish their season. Concedes 27 in round 1, 26 in round 2, 24 in round 3. Beat the Dragons 40-8 last week, then concedes 32 last week. Like, we come back to it once again. Defense is what wins comps. You have a look over the last 5 years. The best defensive teams won the comp 4 times. Only time it did it was when Melbourne beat Penrith, who was second versus 1. Defense matters. You got to get it right. Meanwhile, Penrith are not playing well, but conceding 10 to 12 points per game.
Yep. And that's the thing with the Sharks. They're almost like a more advanced version of the Titans in regards to the Titans, if they sort their defence out, can make the 8. The Sharkies, if they sort their defence out, they can win the comp.
Yep.
Like, just got to find a way.
God, that'll hurt Sharkies fans, but I completely agree with it.
Oh, it's the truth. Like that. I mean, when they got into those big games last year, they leaked a bunch of points, and we're high on the Sharkies. Yep. Everyone knows that. People that listen to this podcast, we've been calling the Sharkies as the next powerhouse for a bit, but they have to find a way to get back to that defence that got them in the position last year that they got into. Because at the moment, leaking this many points, it's just going to be a rollercoaster year.
God, that's a shit loss to have into a bye too.
Oh,
that's brutal. 2 weeks to think about that, and they take on the Chooks. That'll be a cracker.
That will be a cracking match against the Chooks. What do you reckon of the Sharkies, Timmy?
Yeah, I was just so impressed with their first half. They look so slick, and look, I wouldn't be too disheartened as a Sharkies fan because we know the upside of what they can be. We've seen how good a coach Fitzgibbons is. I still love their roster, so I think they'll get on top of their defence. Massive issue at the moment, but I'm confident they get on top of it. Such a good wake-up call for them yesterday. They'll learn from this. Had the game won, they'll take so much out of the loss. They've got to bye this week. They'll regroup, come back, and that was a heartbreaking loss for them yesterday. But I think they come back an even better side, and they can still go very, very deep.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I've still got them potentially even finishing top 4. Got to be a wake-up call. It's got to happen soon.
Yeah.
Because if they get another 3 or 4 games where they're leaking 20, 30 points, all of a sudden we're at round 10. So
I think that could be like potentially a season-defining moment where if they do go very deep, potentially a grand final by the end of the season, they'll look back and go, that day against the Warriors when we just put it down, whether you put it down to complacency, overconfidence, whatever it might be. Maybe not. Might be being harsh and not giving the Warriors enough credit there, but they'll go, that was the half to turn the season around.
Yeah, because their roster is phenomenal. Like, that back line, their halves, like, I cannot wait for their game against the Roosters. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of a game. Because I agree with you, mate. I do think they're going to find a way to bring it all together, but it has to happen sooner rather than later. You don't want to play catch-up. You want to finish in that top 4, especially if you're a side like the Sharks where you are in the business of winning comps now. You're not in the business of being happy that you finished in the top 8 or whatever. Like, if they finish 8th, it'd almost be a disappointing season for them.
Sharks Roosters will be a cracker, won't it?
Oh, fuck. And
I must be glad I've scheduled my wedding for smack in the middle of it.
Just put up on the big screen behind you.
There's a moment there where, with how monotonous can just be, like left and right side halves sit there and they don't get involved in game on the other sides of the field and linking up like I got about 12 times a podcast. There was a moment there where Moiser, who plays on the left, and Nico's predominantly on the right, where they were setting up their shape for an attacking set, and they were just on the opposite side of the field to normal. And Nico was on the left, Moiser was on the right, and they were just sitting there, and that was their shape. I'm like, that is so out of the textbook. And like, there would be coaches who'd be like, this is wrong, your combinations, get rid of it. But Like, that's how confident they are in their attack and their partnership together. Good sign.
And just from all the, junior footy that I see, there would be coaches that if their halves did that, they would hook kids for that.
Yeah.
Man, I love Nico Hines'. I love when he keeps going back down short sides all the time now. Just keeping people honest. Like, the amount of times that, especially in the first half, he'd get the ball Jesse Raymond would take a run, they'd be on a sideline. Nico Hines would get the ball one off the ruck. On the open side, he'd run to the line and step back towards the short side, and all of a sudden the defences are scrambling on. This isn't normal. What the fuck? This isn't the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah. When he comes off that left foot back down that side.
It's fucking beautiful.
He must just, he's obviously quick enough, but he certainly doesn't look lightning. But he's obviously so deceptive in his speed. Like, those first 2-3 steps, like, you look at Reece Walsh and go, he's lightning. He's doing it with his speed, but whatever it is with Nico Hines' movement, he just brushes past people and they don't get near him.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to speak to a player and just go, like, what is it when you're defending Nico that is so hard? I think it's honestly just deceptive speed.
Yeah, agreed. He did it at the Storm all the time. You'd be like, oh, he doesn't look that quick, and then he's fucking made a line break.
Yeah.
So the positive is, I think they got the best attack in the comp right now. I actually think their first half was probably as good as that Cowboys first half of round one. When it clicks for them, far out they're dangerous. They just got to sort their defence. They sort their defence, they may win a premiership this year. That's how good I think they can be. But they just got to sort their defence. And I think they will sort their defence. I really do. Now, on to Doggies versus Cowboys. Wow, what a win. Man, I knew when I saw Matty Burton in Origin with that punch on, and he stayed calm, he stayed cool, came back on the field, he stayed in the game, he stayed competitive. I knew there's a big game player. There's a guy that doesn't let moments get to him. There's a guy that's going to step towards the moment rather than away from it. What a drop goal. And that was after he chipped and chased in Golden Point, just off the cuff. So chips and chases, then I think Adokar kicks again. They somehow get the ball back. It's 6 again. They're on the sideline. He gets the ball off the cup, just goes, boom, field goal, nails it with 10 seconds to go, maybe even less, wins the game 15-14 in Golden Point. Absolutely amazing. The Bulldogs are decimated by injury. This is what we talk about with good systems in place and good coaches. They're backed by the Laundry Group, hugely successful. The Laundry Group have been the architects of all this. They've brought Gus Gold in. They've got the Ciraldo, a gun assistant coach, now head coach. This is what happens when you have good structures and good admins at clubs. This is what can happen. Wins like this. What do you think about the Bulldogs, Guru?
Oh, we're lucky enough to be out there for this one, and it was this last 40 seconds or so was amazing. There was even things Burton did throughout the game. There was a time he dummied at one point on about his own 40, went down the short side, and he was getting tackled. He chipped over the top. He's one of those guys, every time he gets the ball, the whole crowd just stands up.
Yeah.
People are so excited whenever he has the football. And I said it a few hours ago, but for him to have the confidence to chip and chase that ball from his own 40, like, even to just have the mindset to consider doing that is just on another level, another level. And there are better players in this competition that wouldn't have the confidence to do that. No way. That wouldn't even consider that as an option in that moment. But he knows what he's got in Fox, that their combination is second to none. And then for him to get that ball back and kick the field goal from the sideline in the wet when he's a left footer kicking it from the left side of the field, it's a classic. The more you think about it, the more impressive it is.
It's amazing. And think about this. Think about the big moments he had when he played for Australia in centre with that grubber back inside to the Fox. That was a flick or something through his legs.
Flick through his legs, yeah.
Flick through his legs. Like, this kid is special, man. He is so special. And I think we're only scratching the surface of how special this kid is.
And he was standing on the opposite sideline. He hit the field goal, and the first thing he did was sprint straight over to all the Canterbury members. And the whole place just erupted, didn't it?
And he hit the post from the sideline conversion as well before that. Amazing. What a moment. What a moment. What did you reckon about the Bulldogs, Timmy?
It was a very special night to be out there. Guru and I watched the Sharkies game at the locker room hotel just out the front of the stadium there. And unfortunately, we missed the first 50 minutes.
Drinking Bloke, obviously. They got Bloke.
Drinking Bloke,
yeah.
Blokes.
So there was a few Bloke jerseys there too.
Yeah.
A few people enjoying themselves,
We missed the first 50 minutes of the game. It's about a 50-metre walk from the locker room hotel into Olympic Park, and Guru just getting stopped for photos every 5 metres.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, mate, I just want to watch the footy. And Guru's
Wow.
like, I'm a man of the people, mate. I
you're
can't
the
say no
best.
to the fans. And I was like, it's
Oh,
why
Guru.
he's where he is.
Yeah, that's why he's a big dog.
Eventually we got in there and you all right, mate?
I'm good. I think I wanted a picture with Zach Hosking.
No, we got in there for the start. Anyway, we had we were very lucky. We had some good tickets to the game, and we heard Steve Price give a speech before the game, and it was so cool. He obviously his son Riley was making his
Were you
debut.
down in the changing room?
No. So Steve Price gave the speech to presented Riley his jumper, and he said, you know, he held off, didn't tear up while doing it, and then when he was giving the speech to sort of the section we were a part of, we went into tears and like got really upset. He was so emotional and proud of his boy, and he goes, I just managed not to do it when he was there, then he did it up here.
Yeah.
So to start the night like that,
How good.
into the way that we saw when Josh Reynolds came on, and unfortunately it was a pretty small crowd because it was a Sunday night, it was pouring rain, it was Olympic Park, like it wasn't great conditions, but everyone that was there just gave this massive big cheer when Reynolds came on the field, and then for Birdo to finish it like that, it was such a great night to be out there.
And we were both getting anxiety trying to get out of the car park. I've never heard so much noise in my life.
Oh, really? People
As you
beating the
said,
horns.
there was
mate?
more people in the car park than was at the game. It was unbelievable.
Horns just
going
going
off everywhere.
ballistic.
I was terrified.
People just dancing around. Oh,
So good. I mean, look at this starting pack. You've got Max King, Ryan Sutton, Raymond Fatala Mariner, Jacob Preston, Corey Waddell against Jordan McLean, Mitch Dunn, Cohen Hess, Helam Lukey, Jason Taumalolo.
and Fatala Mariner lasted 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
And then Preston dislocated his finger putting it through Max King's eye.
yeah, Max King couldn't even see.
Yeah.
It was just...
As we were leaving, there was a picture of Max King on the wall. There was this girl having photos with it and holding her hand up over the eye and going, oh, we're like, oh, fuck, this is a lot. I realised it was Max King's wife. Okay, fair shout.
And then they had New South Wales Cup winger turned essentially starting edge back row, Jaden Ockenbaugh come on and play 72 minutes.
the big fella.
It's
a great win, man.
great win.
And it just really represents, it's like what they said, you know, about hustling and you know, the community hustles, they hustled. This is payment for just 17 blokes just ripping in for each other. They're just ripping in for each other. They're all having a dig. They're a massive injury cloud over so many players. It's just a win that can really like springboard them into maybe not, you know, obviously not premiership contention, but it could springboard them into challenging for the 8th, the 10th, the 9th, the 10th mark. Wins like this give you confidence where you go, you know what, like we are where we think, like with the teams, with everything that went against us, to beat the Cowboys that were, 2 points away from a grand final last year, it's a big, big win for the club. And it was just all about battling for each other. That's all it was. They were under the pump constantly and they just kept turning up.
My favourite moment, and he mentioned it when Josh Reynolds came on the field, everyone gave a big cheer, but Josh Reynolds sprinted onto the field like the Terminator, ran on, couldn't get involved in the first tackle, tried to make the second one, slipped over, let a line break go straight through him. But everyone just sort of went, no, we love that about Josh. That's what he brings.
And then he was like blowing up at the ref when he's back.
But it was so, they were like, I was talking to someone that was inside, and I said, oh, geez, missed the first tackle. Yeah, that's fine. That's what he does. He'll make up for it.
Yeah, he'll do something.
The energy that he brings.
Yep. I want to give a shout out to my boy, the one that I spotted and I recruited to the Bulldogs, Jacob Preston. Seriously, what a good eye from me to be able to pick this guy and just bring him through and just, you know, if you want the tips for the young fellas, you know that I'm the guy that knows footy.
that eye was about to be black.
I'll let you do the honours, Timmy, of the great Jacob Preston, 2 tries.
How good is he? Like, because there's not a lot of size about him.
He reminds me like a smaller Sean Lane.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he doesn't have all the size of Sean Lane, but the lines that he hits, the tough carries.
He's so tough.
Fucking good carry. Like, he reminds me of Hosking a little bit.
Yeah, it was something too that we noticed last night. Like when he hits, he whacks. Like you can hear it when you're out there. I don't think it probably comes. Well, for me, it hadn't come across on the TV. until I saw it live last night. He's a very good footballer.
He's
Preston.
a gun. He's just getting started too. You're going to build combinations with his halves. I cannot wait to see his career. Him and Hoskins, for me, are the two young back rowers that I'm just really excited to see because they're fan favourites. They get through a bunch of work. They're going to turn up every week. You're very rarely going to get in. Like a couple of weeks ago, I mean, put it this way. At the start of this year, you would have said, oh, he might get a few games in the middle of the year maybe because of injury or whatever. Has he, dare I say, locked that position down now?
Well and truly.
Like, in what? In the matter of 4 games, pretty much. Just locked it down. Super exciting. Josh Adokar, that clutch try. Like, that was harder than people think because he had to bring the ball in and then put it down. He nearly dropped it. Wet weather, the pressure's on you. And also, so he scores the equaliser, and then in Golden Point, he goes back in looking for the next big play. That's why, that's why he's one of the best wingers to do it, in my opinion. Look, Carreras, I mean,
just puts in a shift every week.
Every fucking week, he does not stop. He does not stop.
And you can, like, from being there live last night, that you don't always see it on the camera, but he's just constantly chasing the ball around. He's filthy when he doesn't get the ball, but he just tries again for the next one.
It's like under 8s.
It's almost like the halves have to say, just chill the fuck out. Go back out there. We'll call you in when we need you. But he is just keen.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love what they're building there at the Doggies. And, similar-ish to the Warriors, like, this roster can improve. Like, they can go into the market. They got young guys that can get better each year. I mean, they got Crichton coming next year.
Yeah.
Like, talk about another game breaker. So you got Burton, Fox, and Crichton in your back line. Alamotti's going to be better for the run.
Shout out to the current fullback too, Hayes Perham. I think he didn't stand out last night doing anything amazing, but he's just getting better week on week.
He's growing
further ahead than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, I still want to see the ball playing improving.
Yep.
But he's definitely growing on me because I'll always back a player that just rips in for 80 minutes all the time, and that's what I love about Hayes Perham is like. He's always on the ball. He's always willing to take a tough carry. He doesn't go missing. So he's definitely growing on me for sure.
And that was my worry at the start of the year. I knew he had the skill set. I knew he had the highlight plays, but I wasn't sure if he'd be able to do the work at fullback. And he's rolling his sleeves up.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's the best part of his game, in my opinion, is the amount of work he gets through. Because he's clearly got the footwork. He's clearly very exciting with the ball in hand. I like Hayes Perham. It's going to be interesting if he keeps improving on this trajectory and the Dogs, let's say in a crazy world they finish like 8th or whatever, you have to ask yourself, like, do you put Critter back there or do you put Critter in the centres or what do you do there? It's a tough gig.
Problems you want to have though.
For sure. So amazing stuff by the Doggies, guys. Congratulations to Josh Reynolds. What an incredible journey back. I thought Franklin Pele, until he got injured, that's another guy, he got injured. One of his carries where the crowd got up in that, he's grown each game as well. And he's only going to get better and better and better. Still super young. Still got Luke Thompson to come back.
Such a tough test this week with the Bunnies. 5-day turnaround. Lose for Tyler Mariner, Franklin Pele. Kick-Owl's obviously out again due to that training concussion. TPJ's expected to be another week out. I think Maxie King will be all right. He came back on the field but had that pretty nasty eye gouge from his own teammate. So, Ockenball could be starting on the edge from him. Jackson Topine can't probably come into the 17, but on the 5-day turn, and also that game was in the wet. Like, that's always a slug on the body.
I'm honestly willing to excuse whatever happens.
I genuinely am too.
Yeah.
And you don't want to forecast, tough outing, but against the Rabbitohs coming off a tough loss, Easter game, it's a tough one for them.
I personally, as a Bulldogs fan, don't read into whatever. If they win, it's fucking one of the most amazing things. If it's close, that's fucking amazing. Don't read into this. You guys are decimated by injury. I'm willing to write it off.
Yeah. No pressure, Matty. No pressure at all.
Yeah.
Mate, if they make it a close affair, it'll be like if they lose by 12 to 14 points, that's a win for me. Sweet. So I wouldn't read too much into it coming this week because this amazing win last night. Now on to the Cowboys. I think it's just a matter of they just have to wait till Drinkwater's back. Yep. And that's no knock on Chester. I think Chester's been amazing. I really like the work he gets through. But this team is not even close to the team with Scott Drinkwater is like Tom Trbojevic almost to Manly. Not as crucial, but they look like a shell of themselves without Scotty Drinkwater.
And as I said, Tommy Chester's been really good in his few games in the NRL, but like, if Drinky does go down again or get suspended again, Val's got to go to fullback, doesn't he? Like,
I think so.
He's so good. He's a good ball player. They've just lacked it so big last couple of weeks. And Val, he's not a silky ball player, Scotty Drinkwater, but it's got to happen.
And just that power and explosiveness at the back. And, like, Chester's been good, but I think he's more of a 6. I think he's more of a 6 than he is a fullback. Because at the moment, like, far out, Cowboys have got to probably be the most disappointing side so far this year, would you say? As in...
From what you expected?
From where, I had them as premiership threats.
Yep.
And look, they still can go on a run, but they just... What are they sitting? They're 14th. 14th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
And can you... Who have they played? Can you get that up for us, please? They're 14th. I mean, you could make the argument Eels, but I would argue that Eels have played better footy this year. But aside from that first half in the first game for the Cowboys, they just really haven't looked... I mean, the game with Drinkies were okay.
So they beat the Raiders, then they lost to the Broncos, lost the Warriors, beat the Titans, and then lost to the Dogs.
So that's not a tough roster. I mean, that's not a tough draw.
Yeah.
I mean, if they played exactly the way they did last year, they literally should have won every single one of those games. So
the Raiders have won one game. They got us by a point or two in Townsville.
Yep.
The one thing you give them, also copying a lot of injuries. Like, they've had a tough run. You add McLean and Hylam Lukey, who was really good again, to that off this week, both likely to miss out. So I'll be hoping Cotter comes back. Drinky obviously back in, but...
Yeah, that's fair with the Cotter and the injuries, but I still think... Like,
God, Lukey looked good until he got injured last night.
Far out.
Had that mad try. Yes, then he goes off injured.
Fuck, he's so good. Hopefully he can stay injury-free because he's a freak. And if him and Nanai can play on it... Oh, man. Yeah, but... Yeah, I mean, I'm with you, being injured, but they still got key players. Like, they got Townsend, they got Dearden, Taumalolo, Reece Robson, Val Holmes. You know what I mean? Like, these are good players. These are top tier players. So a little bit disappointed at the moment. We already spoke about it, but Griffin Neem off the bench was outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Came on, 17 runs, 168 metres, 7 tackle breaks, 30 tackles. But yeah, with the Cowboys, I really just think it's a matter of wait and see. The problem is like they had Cotter and they had Drinkwater in round 1 and they only beat Raiders by a point. And we're seeing how the Raiders have been going.
Yeah, I always find it hard to read too much into round 1 form though. Everyone's up for that game, first game of the season and whatnot. I'll judge this team once they've got Cotter and the boys back. I do think they're a side that if they win 2, they can go on to win 8. If they can just
they're still a premiership threat for me personally, but I don't think anyone there would be happy with how they've started the year.
No, for sure. And you look over the next few weeks, so the Dolphins, the Warriors, the Knights. Like, I think that's 3 winnable games for them.
They should win all 3. They should win all 3.
Yeah. I mean, the Warriors are fucking impressive at the moment, and over there at Mount Smart as well.
I just think like they should have come 3rd last year.
Yeah, but you got to give credit to the Warriors. They're playing bloody good footy and hanging in there. So I think that they should win at least 2 out of those 3, in my opinion.
Yeah,
like I reckon that with the Dolphins' injuries, they should get them this weekend. Surely they beat one of the Warriors or the Knights.
See, I'm judging these all teams off where I felt they were on paper before the season started, because like I think we are, like me personally, I think that it's not the way. Like, for example, that. When the Broncos, they came out, I think it was like 2018, whatever it was, and Andrew Johns was like, this is the best young fullback I've ever seen. We came out, we won 2 games, and we were looking like premiership contenders. And then we literally got towed up for the rest of the year. And so at the start of the year, no one was talking about getting beaten by anyone. No one was talking about rebuild, 5-6 games in, all of a sudden, it's a rebuild year, we've got a young squad. And so the worry I have with some teams, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but like the Cowboys, I just hope their standards don't slip to, we were only up at the top of the table for 1 year last year. And I think that the Cowboys going into this year, just like the Sharkies, would be thinking, even if we get a couple injuries, we should be fucking
fair shout. Yeah.
beating most bottom 8 sides.
Yeah.
Or bottom 9 sides. How weird is that to say? Bottom 9 sides. But I do 100% agree with you, and I said at the start of the segment, wait till Drinky's back, wait till Cotter's back, and then we'll get a really good gauge of, are they just so fucking important to this side that that's just who the Cowboys rely on them, or have they dropped off a little bit?
Because that's the other thing for me. Like, as you said, judge them off what you had them on paper at the start of the season. Like, I've always rated Drinkwater, but I underrated how important he is to this side. Like, I knew that without him, it'd be hard, but like, he might be the most important guy on this side, realistically. Based on what I've seen over the last few weeks, they look completely different without him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, put it this way. He plays, they absolutely win. And they probably win by 12 points.
I think so.
Because like he's at least worth 12 to 14 points for that side. So, yes, Cowboys fans, disappointing for sure. No denying that. But just wait till Cotter and Drinky are back, and then you'll get a better gauge as to where the club is really at. Because we've been in this season now. It's not just round 2 or 3. We've had time for everything to kind of like the dust to settle. And Drinky and Cotter are clearly really, really important. Really important. Anything else on the Cowboys, boys?
No.
That is us, I think. That's the end of the episode.
What are we? Tips?
Oh, tips. Apologies. Now, let's get on to the tips next week. Brought to you by Sportsbet. They're running a promo called Share a Bet. Basically, if your mate puts a multi on and you want to ride it with them, you can without having to manually put it in yourself. You can now share the bet with the tap of a button, and your mate can copy it straight into their bet slip. Share the bet, copy the bet with Sportsbet. So if I put together a multi, they can just go, boom, one button, copy my multi. That's all on Sportsbet. Go check it out. As always, guys, make sure to gamble responsibly. Wow, Storm versus the Roosters. Here we go, boys. Storm are favourites. I'm going Roosters.
Yeah, I'm going to go the Chooks as well.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, me too, Roosters.
Oh, wow, okay. I mean, you know what? Storm will fucking dominate us again. Far out.
Go down together, boys.
Yeah, we'll all go down together, 100%. The Bulldogs versus the Rabbitohs. I'm going Rabbitohs.
Bunnies.
Rabbitohs.
Cowboys, Dolphins.
Cows for me.
Cows.
Yeah, Cowboys.
Yeah, Cows. And I think they bounced back from last week. I think they'll be upset with that loss. Penny Panthers versus Eagles.
Penrith for me.
Yeah, Penrith.
Yeah, Penrith. Broncos versus the Raiders.
Brisbane.
Jackie's still out, eh?
Yeah.
Raiders are paying $4.50. Actually, I forgot to put the odds in, guys. So Bulldogs $2.75, Rabbitohs $1.45, Cowboys $1.39, Dolphins $3, Panthers $1.39, Seagulls $3, Broncos $1.20, Raiders $4.50. I'm going Broncos. Gold Coast Titans $1.65, Dragons $2.25.
I think this will decide the tips this week.
Ooh.
I am going to take the Titans off a bye.
Yeah, I'm going Titans. There'll be no Foz or Brimo, but I'm going Titans.
Nah, I'm taking Dragons.
I'm taking Dragons too. I don't mind the $2.25 as well. Knights versus the Warriors, and the Warriors are favourites at $1.85, Knights $1.95. A real testing game for the Warriors. If they can win again, like they can back that up with such a mammoth performance. I love the Knights' last couple of weeks, their grittiness. Oh, fuck, this is a tough one. You know what? I'm backing the Knights in.
I'm going to back them in too.
I'm fucking backing them in there at home. And as I said, I really think that I love their attitude the last 2 weeks.
It's so hard. I'll go the Warriors.
Okay.
I can't believe they're playing again. They played in round 1. But I'm going the Warriors.
Going the Warriors? Oh, man, I'm going to live to regret that, I reckon. Oh, well. Tigers are paying $4, Eels $1.25.
Para.
Tigers have a history of putting it to the Eels. Not beating them, but putting it to them.
They had a history of putting it to the Broncos as well, though.
That's a good point. Eels. It's brought to you by Sportsbet, guys, the number 1 betting agency in the land, the best for punting, so make sure to jump on board. They support us, so support them. Beers and break-evens, Wednesday, 6 p.m.
3 p.m.
3 p.m. Fuck.
You're going to be late, my friend. Wednesday, 3 p.m, beers and break-evens.
Beers and break-evens, make sure to be there. There's a huge prizes for $5,000 for the winner or something.
5,000 up for grabs, weekly footballs.
Who's winning out of you guys?
Who do you reckon, Kempy?
Oh, wow.
Only as good as your last week, Kempy.
Holy shit. How far ahead are you?
Not a long way, mate.
Early days.
Oh, is it early days?
Yeah.
So, like, how many wins would you need to get back ahead of him?
Oh, If Guru has a big week this week, he could be ahead of me. So it doesn't take
okay.
much, mate.
Are you in it as well?
Nah, not really, but I have been going pretty well. Like, so I'm suddenly interested in it,
Okay.
which is
And I'm a bit
nice.
sick of people begging me to have Matty on the fucking panel. He's got no idea what he's doing. But anyway.
Okay.
Matty's had a huge fortnight.
Yeah, about a couple
Okay.
of good weeks.
Okay. As always, brought to you by Bloke in a Bar Beer. Get down your local, grab a case. That's the way you support this. If you get hours of free content from us, guys, grab a case of beer. It's a beautiful beer. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.